आपके लाइट बहुत कम है यहाँ पे, बहुत डार्क
डार्क आ रहा है तो ये यहाँ पर ना उल्टा है, यहाँ उल्टा बैठना पड़ेगा क्या फिर?
उल्टा बैठी।
अगर मैं इसको यहाँ पर प्लेस करूँ ना, थिंग्स आर फाइन, थिंग इज बेटर सर।
ठीक है, बट हाँ काफी एकदम ऐसा लग रहा है काफी डार्क रूम में बैठे हुए।
तो यहाँ पर उल्टा है वो, फिर बैकग्राउंड से ना फिर
देखिए चेंज हो सकता है तो, अदरवाइज ठीक है, इट्स ओके।
ठीक है ना, इट विल वर्क, इट विल वर्क।
ठीक है, बाकी ठीक है।
तो नाउ आई एम शेयरिंग द स्लाइड।
एक बार ट्राई करिए।
इज इट लुकिंग फाइन सर?
ठीक है।
स्टॉप शेयर।
ठीक है, सो अभी 3:42 हो गए हैं।
हाँ जी,
सो कुछ लोग वेट कर रहे हैं, 7 लोग वेट कर रहे हैं।
हाँ जी।
ठीक है, तो मैं इनको फिर अभी वो कर देता हूँ, 45 के बाद मैं इनको एडमिट करता हूँ।
हाँ जी, हाँ जी सर। सर थिंग इज दिस कि couple of people from college even won't be able to join because session has started.
कोई नहीं, तो
They
ठीक
are
है।
having this. Okay sir. So shall I keep myself mute now?
हाँ हाँ, ठीक है। हेलो हेलो।
Yes sir.
आई एम अलाउइंग पार्टिसिपेंट्स टू एंटर into the meeting। ठीक है।
Sure sir. Do give a reminder, I will be coming online.
समझ में आता है यार। चलो एक
प्रियांशी मैं बोलती हूँ तो एक्शन करा। दुखने लग गया
कि बच्चे का 10,000 रखे रोज
या आरती के ट्यून के हिसाब से प्रियांशी ने नया आरती बनाया।
Nitish sir. Hello. Hello, Nitish sir. Hello. Hello.
A very good evening to all of you. Research is all about seeing what everybody else has seen and to think but nobody else has ever seen before. With this quote, I welcome all of you on behalf of PGDV Evening College, two most prestigious cells, IQAC cell and Research and Consultancy cell, to day 6 of this faculty development program. The schedule for day 6 is as follows. There will be 2 sessions. Session number 1 on the topic research methodology in social sciences. And the resource person is Dr. Ashish Chandra, followed by session 2, advanced research tools. And the second resource person is Dr. Subodh Kesharwani. Our first resource person has joined us.
Nice. Sir is about to join. Sir is about to join. He hasn't joined. She'll be joining in a minute.
Dear participants, our first resource person, Dr. Ashish Chandra, is with us. It's a matter of pride to introduce you to Dr. Ashish Chandra. Dr. Ashish Chandra is an associate professor in Department of Commerce.
Nitish ji, sir ने अभी ज्वाइन नहीं किया, 2 मिनट वेट कर सकते हैं?
So he has joined, might be network error.
मैं नहीं देख पा रहा हूँ उनको. किस नाम से ज्वाइन किया है?
Dr. Ruchi Shukla.
Okay, wait.
Okay. Dr. Ashish Chandra is an associate professor in Department of Commerce, Faculty of Commerce and Business, Delhi School of Economics, University of Delhi. He is a topper and gold medalist in Masters of International Business Management. He had the honor of being awarded by 2 gold medals and 2 merit scholarships from the hands of first citizen of India, His Excellency, the Honorable President of India, late Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. He completed his PhD in the year 2005 in marketing. He has to his credit 7 years of teaching and industry experience. He has a rich and mixed experience of working under different university systems, and his industry experience relates him to IBM, International Business Machine. Dr. Chandra has extensively presented and published a number of research papers in various national and international conferences, as well as reputed journals in India and abroad. He has chaired several technical sessions in different national and international conferences. Recently, he has chaired a technical session in IIM Indore. He has to his credit more than a dozen books. He has successfully organized and conducted several events like international and national conferences and workshops, seminars, panel discussions in capacity of convener. He has conducted many projects funded by government agencies like MSME, Ministry of Industry, Government of India, AICTE, UGC, etc. Recently, he has to his credit a national level research project funded by Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Government of India, worth rupees 12.5 lakhs. He is actively involved in teaching, training, research consultancy. His interest lies in the areas of marketing, customer relationship management, consumer behavior, responsible marketing, integrated marketing, branding solutions, sales and distribution management, retail management, services marketing, entrepreneurship, and general management issues. He is actively engaged in panel discussions, guest lectures, workshops, trainings, and MDPs at various forums. He has contributed in national dailies on different themes. He has trained middle level and top level management executives and offered consultancy services to different companies. I once again welcome Dr. Ashish Chandra. Sir, it's a matter of pride for us. I request you to kindly take charge of your session. Thank you.
Thank you, Nitish. Thank you very much. Am I audible, Nitish?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Thank you. I think before we start, let me brief the participants. First, welcome on my personal behalf and on behalf of PGDAV Evening College and the society which is organizing this, event. And thank you very much to invite me to have a talk on research methodology in social sciences. Before we initiate, because there was, a technical glitch of internet connectivity in the beginning. So I don't know whether the organizers have already briefed you that how the session would be, taken up or not. So that's why I'm just briefing that once we are over with my session, in the last I'll take all the questions one by one. So we'll have a time slot specific for question and answer. So I'll request Nitish to you to ask the participants to write their questions in the chat box, and you can pick up once my session is over, and then one by one we can discuss those questions here. Nitish, is that clear? Nitish, can you listen to me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
So you take up the questions in the last, and then we will take up one by one. We'll
Sure,
have
sir.
a specific time for question and answer in the last.
Sure, sir.
I think Dr. Gupta is also there. So let me say hi to Dr. Gupta. Sir, कैसे हैं Gupta sir?
जी सर. हेलो.
हेलो.
या नमस्कार सर. सर प्रिंसिपल सर ने भी ज्वाइन नहीं किया हुआ.
अच्छा, ठीक है. Not an issue. Thank you, Rakesh ji. Thank you very much. So thank you very much. So I'm just thanks for giving me co-host right so that I can share my screen. So I'm just starting up with my session. So just give me a moment. Is my screen visible to you?
Yes sir. Yes sir. It is.
Thank you very much. So see, the idea is because it is a 7-day FDP and you all are basically teachers, I'm sure most of you are teachers or research scholars. So you are having good idea about research, and in last 7 days, because this is I think the 6th day. So the last 5 days you must have been acquainted with a lot of research methodology techniques, so on and so forth. My topic is today research methodology in social sciences. So I would like to initiate this. We feel that the journey to research is very easy and clear, but the fact is that it is not. And most of the times it seems to be straight, but it is never straight. The fact is that then if we talk about the hurdles, it is full of hurdles. It seems that it is very easy, and at times it is very confusing also. Now, another thing is that I seek your cooperation. I seek your cooperation as a participant. If you can see this, it is just to create fun. If you see that the characters in the image, they say that I have no idea what this meeting is all about, but I just know that he is wrong. So if you sit with this attitude in the session, I think we are not going to get anything. And if you see the picture here at the left bottom, it shows that one is driving at the left and one is driving at the right, and they are reaching nowhere at the end. So I think we need to, have the right set of mind before, interacting and participating and learning from each other. It's basically a learning from each other. So I will also learn from you people today. Then, just a thought before we begin that if you can't explain simply, you don't understand it well. It is said by Albert Einstein. And I believe the same. So I'll try to put things very simply, not making it complex and tough to understand, but very in simple terms. Because fact is, if you know, you can explain it simply. So that is what, said by Albert Einstein. Then let's talk about research. When we talk about research, what comes in your mind? It is about what you feel about research. Research is basically, to invent new knowledge, which was never before. It was not existing. So it is read and search and journey plus destination.
Hello.
So it is a journey from unknown to the known. And there are various steps through which we get, the findings, new findings, which are not there. So, so we can say that research is experience and exposure both. So research is it solves the problem that have no known solution by anyone in the world, or if it is there, then it is unknown to you or to me or to the researcher, whoever is doing the research. Then research is what not equal to. It is not learning from the books, papers, newspapers, reports, or the experts' opinions, or anything that can be learned by definition is not research. It cannot be considered research. These days I find people that keep saying that we research a lot before buying any product or service. Students say that we research a lot before taking admission into, any institution. Then scholars keep on researching the papers, different reports online, and they say that we have researched. Searching online is not at all a research. It is not a research. It is just referring the available text literature, which is already there, which is not actually the research. Then, why to do research? That is the question which comes in mind. So, it's a very simple question. We just think that how many products and services which we are using today were there 10 years ago or 20 years ago. So we can go 20 years back, 30 years back. You can see that, how many products were there now. So it is only possible because of the new thought, because of the innovation, because of the research which has been, conducted by various entrepreneurs, companies, organizations, so on and so forth. So it helps in understanding a concept, phenomena, and the world as a whole. It is a curiosity to understand the cause and effect relationship. It solves new problems, which the solution of those problems was not there, and it improves existing solutions. So it is basically what research is, the movement of from known to the unknown. So something which we are not aware of, we try to search that, and something we know, based on those observations, we try to explore something new. So the cycle basically, I'm sure I'm not going to put much time into it because I know you all are aware of it, but because, it's my session, so I have to take from the beginning. So it is basically what it starts with problem or problem identification, then the formulation of objectives and the research strategy, then the research design, literature review, gathering, data, interpret findings and conclusions. When we talk about literature review, even for identifying the problem, literature review is not something which comes at the fifth stage only. Actually, even for the identification of problem, you have to go for literature review. So once there is a problem in the mind, you start going for literature review, and the cycle moves on. Then with the research cycle, scientific method. Scientific method is basically it is first the question, the curiosity which comes in mind, that what does a scientist want to learn more about. Whether you want to learn about any issue in social science, or why I'm talking about social science specifically, because it is a session on social science. So the question which comes in mind, the curiosity which is there. Then the research, which is gathering information. wherein we need to gather information. Then we have hypothesis, which is an educated guess of an answer to the question, or the direction in which the study will flow. Then there are procedures and methods, research design, which we need to create, which is written very carefully and step by step, experiment designed to test the hypothesis. And then data, collection, information collected during the experiment, observation, and then after observation, we go for conclusion. Then scientific method basically, relies on what it is a systematic approach, sequential approach, and it relies on evidences that use the concepts that keeps objectivity in mind, that what we are going to find, what is the objectivity. Then it follows ethical neutrality, so there should not be any bias when we are going for research. Though we frame hypothesis, but still, hypothesis, forming the hypothesis should not bring the biasness or biases. Then we formulate generalization, and we ensure verifiability, that whatever we have done, it should be verifiable. Then we use logical reasoning to reject or accept the hypothesis. So if we talk about hypothesis, there are different kinds of hypotheses that we can see. There are simple hypothesis, complex hypothesis. Simple hypothesis is what? Simple hypothesis is when there is so there are two variables, one independent variable and one dependent variable. For example, the smoking causes cancer. So smoking causes cancer means that the smoking is independent variable and cancer, which is an outcome, is dependent variable. So smoking causes cancer. It's a very simple, one independent variable and one dependent variable hypothesis, which is on a simple hypothesis. Complex hypothesis means the hypothesis which has got multiple dependent variables. So if I say that smoking causes stress, smoking causes chest infection, smoking causes smoking causes let's say smoking causes stress, chest infection, and cancer. So there is one independent variable, which is smoking, and there are three dependent variables, which are dependent. So three outcomes, which we are trying to explore: the effect of smoking, and the effect of smoking on those particular three dependent variables. So it becomes complex, when there are more than one dependent variable of an independent variable. Then third, we have empirical. Empirical hypothesis is basically it is based on evidence. When we talk about evidence, so we call it empirical hypothesis. So empirical hypothesis is that can be tested. Using observation and experiment. So that is called empirical hypothesis. Then we have null hypothesis. Null hypothesis is basically the opposite or negative of what we what we propose or what we say. Then alternate hypothesis. Alternate hypothesis is denoted by H1, so on so forth, or HA1, and it is basically the sample observation which are influenced by some of the non-random causes. So the next is logical hypothesis. Logical hypothesis is last is statistical hypothesis. So there are different classifications of hypothesis, but if we broadly see, hypothesis can be classified into these classification. So when we see when we talk about logical hypothesis or statistical hypothesis, in fact, when we talk about statistical hypothesis, logical is it is basically a statement which would be logically proved, which will be logically proved, and statistical hypothesis is something which is either logical or illogical, but the statistics verify it, and will be called as statistical hypothesis. I'm not going to much of these details because I'm sure you all are aware of it, but because without the the session would not have been, have the sequence. Then there are two kinds of reasoning. One is deductive and inductive reasoning. So deductive versus inductive reasoning. Deductive is what? It says that I start with theory, then confirm hypothesis. I tend to do quantitative research. And then inductive is reverse of deductive. It says the data has to be first, which gives conclusion from the data, and then qualitative research will be conducted. For example, if we see here inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning. So if we see, inductive reasoning says that someone who uses inductive reasoning makes scientific observations and then draw a journal conclusion. So example is every quiz has been easy, therefore the test will be easy. So we are inducting, we are not deducting here. Whereas in another example, if we see, it says inductive reasoning is a specific conclusion which follows a journal theory. So then it says that all students in this class play guitar. Sam is a student of this class, therefore Sam plays guitar. So because all students in this class play guitar and Sam is a student of this class, so we are saying that therefore Sam plays guitar. So we are deducting. So inductive and deductive, there are two kinds of reasonings which are there. And if we talk about types of research, there are different, when you would go for type of research, you find different classifications by different authors, by different, trainers, by different statisticians. But broadly, if we see that, what are the different types of research, you'll find that there is a pure research, which is basic and fundamental. There is applied research, which is basically a solution to a real life problem. And then there is exploratory research, which is preliminary study of an unfamiliar problem. Then, there is a diagnostic study, which is discovering what and why of, happening. Then there is descriptive study, which is fact-finding investigation. Then evaluation study, which assesses the effectiveness. Then action research, which is, a study to solve a problem. Then experimental research, which talks about assessing effect of a variable on a phenomena. So, which is called as cause and effect relationship. Then analytical study, which is analysis applied to data. Historical research, which is reconstruction, origin and development from the past data information which we have. Then study research, which is a fact-finding, research. Then case study, study of a person, group, or a situation. Then field study, community studies like different surveys, conducted by various news agencies, conducted by various NGOs, government organizations. Then qualitative study based on measurement of quantity and amount. Then qualitative research, which is concerned with qualitative phenomena. Empirical research, which relies on experience or observation. Now, when we talk about, social science research, I think all these what we have discussed so far is known by all the participants, and much detailing I think would not be appropriate. In fact, the emphasis I think it needs to be given on social science research, which is the topic of today's discussion given to me. So when we talk about social science research, exactly what we talk about in social science research and how it is conducted. So if you see social science research is what it is basically a research which works or try to deal with or attempt to answer many of the questions we have about human behavior. So when we talk about human behavior, and there are various questions which are related to human behavior, all those studies are called as social science research studies. Science is basically divided into two: natural science and social science. Natural science, we talk about physics, we talk about the celestials, we talk about the different areas of natural science. Whereas natural science in fact talks about the human body. So whereas in social science we talk about the behavior of human beings, we talk about the research which are conducted in society on social aspects, so on and so forth, and the behavior of human beings. So when we talk about social science research, it is about finding the hows and whys of human behavior. That why people, behave in a particular situation in a particular way, why, why and how. So basically identifying hows and whys of human behavior in a particular situation. So if we see there are five, steps of scientific method to conduct social science researches by different researchers. So step one is, it begins with a question of curiosity. So if we don't have curiosity in mind, the research or the researchers cannot conduct research. We need to have curiosity in the mind to find the answer of question which is not known to us or maybe not known to the world, something new. Or if it is known, we are not aware of. So at least not known to me, or rather something new. In fact, so it begins with a question of curiosity, which is there. So for example, let's say, let's try to understand it with you know with an example, and that will give us some better clarity. So let's say if it says that does drinking and driving increase the car accidents? I have a question or curiosity in mind that whether drinking and driving increases the rate of car accidents. So we have to test it. We have to prove it. So this is the question which is there in the mind of the researcher. So first is that we need to have a question which begins with curiosity. So the next is, step two is that formulation of hypothesis. So hypothesis is what? It is an educated guess regarding what the researcher expects to find. So ultimately, it is a direction in which our study will, flow, or the researcher will take the study further. So it is an educated guess. Why we are calling it educated? Because the researcher or the scholar has done the literature review before even forming the hypothesis. In fact, before clearly identifying the research problems, the extensive literature review needs to be done, and based on that only, so you get the exposure, you get some knowledge about that particular field of study or the study, which is under consideration. So that's why it is called an educated guess regarding what the researcher expects to find or a direction in which the study will, flow. Then hypothesis is based on the previous research work in the field under study. Obviously, without literature review, we cannot, formulate hypothesis. Rather, in fact, we cannot, clearly identify the research problem. Then step three is what? To test the hypothesis through empirical research. So once our hypotheses are formulated, we have to test it through empirical research. So the process of collecting and analyzing data is basically, empirical research. So you see that what exactly the empirical research is. It is the hypothesis which is based on observations or on the existing theories, text, literature, and then it moves to experiments which are designed to test those hypotheses. Then theory, which is basically the refinement, and based on test results, and then application of the theory by practitioners. So let's say we have framed the hypothesis that drinking and driving increases the probability of accident. It is a hypothesis, simple hypothesis, wherein two variables are there. One is drinking while driving, and another is basically driving. So the outcome would be whether accident or no accident would be dependent variable. But so whether accident or no accident, the outcome would be dependent variable. So once the hypothesis is basically framed, the experiment would be designed, the research would be designed to conduct this, to prove or to approve or disapprove this hypothesis. Once it is done, it is empirically done, then theory would be formed based on the test result if it is accepted, and then the theory will be applied by the practitioner. So this is how the new concepts theories are built. The research is conducted, and based on that theories are developed. Then it can be done through what? It can be done through descriptive research. Now again, there are various again, if you see types of research, you will find different types of research. So what is descriptive research? What is experimental research? What is correlational research? And how the correlational research is, different from, what is correlation versus causal. So we'll talk about it. So descriptive research is what descriptive research describes behavior. For example, when we talk about in our example, let's say that drinking, you know, increases the car accidents or drinking cause car accidents or increases the probability of car accidents. So it basically talks about what it talks about, it will describe and it will talk about what the commonality, among those who are most likely to drink and drive. So what are the, common things between those people who are going to, drive while they are drinking or who are going to drink while they are driving. So ultimately what it is basically, when experiment research we talk about, we basically talk about what manipulation. We talk about manipulate different variables to measure changes in other related variables. So researchers, try to do what? Researchers basically try to manipulate variables so that they can see or measure the changes in other related variables. For example, social science research, uh, when to see that how manipulation changes the dependent variable, because independent variable would be there, and if you make change in the independent variable, the outcome would be different. The dependent variable will change. So then experimental research is what experimental research is. It will compare the rate of accidents between the persons who drink and drive and who do not. So when we talk about experimental research, we are basically talking about the comparison between the one who are drinking and driving, the rate of accidents, whether the accidents are more in the case of when people drink and drive, or it is equal or maybe less than with the people who are not even drinking, but they're driving and getting their cars or vehicles accidents. So the idea is that experimental research will compare, and it will compare between the rate of excellence between these two, you know, uh, between these two group of population. So the behavior of drinking and driving would be independent variable, and the outcome, which is basically the accident or no accident, would be the dependent variable. So basically, then when we talk about correlational research, so when we talk about correlational research tries to find the correlation, between two variables, if it exists. So it says that examine the relationship, if any, between two variables or different variables. Then, for example, we might find, in the example which we are discussing, in the example, we might find that younger drivers have an increased rate of accidents while drinking and driving. By mistake, it is written as 16, but the idea is that we are talking about drinking and driving. So accidents while drinking and driving, this would show a correlation between age and rate of accidents. So there would be a correlation which would be there between the age and rate of accidents. So it says that age is basically age and rate of accidents. So it's trying to find relationship between two, whether the people who are younger, the number of accidents are more in the younger population which drinks and drives, or less in the older population, or what. So it is basically trying to find a relationship between these two. So there is always a confusion, at times big confusion between correlation and causation. So when we talk about correlation and causation, we need to understand. I have tried to make very simple slides, with illustration to make it more clear. So you see here that lack of RAM in a phone is basically causing two things. One is that phone freezes, phone hangs, and another is that it is another cause which is there, which is the output which it is creating is that you are not able to text message or it won't work. So ultimately the causation, it is a lack of RAM. It is a lack of, RAM, which causes the phone, freezes, and text messages or any other thing is not working in that particular phone. But there is a correlation between phone freezing and text messaging, but it is not a causation. It is not that phone is freezing and that is causing text messages, won't work. Ultimately, text messages are, you're not able to message the text or text message because of lack of RAM. So the, cause is not here phone freezing of phone. Cause is basically the lack of RAM, and it has, two dependent variables. One is phone freezes, another is text messaging, which is not working. So two dependent variables on one independent variable, which is lack of RAM. But if we say that we are not able to, message somebody because our phone is freezing, it is not the cause. It is not the phone freezing is not an independent variable, and text messaging is a dependent variable, but on lack of RAM, not on freezing the phone. So it is not caused by freezing of phone, but there is a relationship between two. If phone will freeze, you will not able to perform any function. So there is a correlation. So there are a lot of times confusion. In fact, I have seen in department when there are PhD scholars or NCL scholars who are there, they are always confused between the correlation and causation, that this is causing that, and at times there is a correlation but they try to establish the causation. So it needs to be very clear that there is a difference between correlation and causation. There are another example which we can see here is that causation is basically it is because of the dry, hot and sunny summer weather or day today, and which is creating two causes. One is it is making us impulsive to have ice cream, and another is that it is creating a sunburn or creating a lot of heat. So when we are thinking to eat ice cream because of hot temperature, so it is a sun temperature which is independent variable, and the ice cream is dependent variable. The sunburn is dependent variable on the independent variable of heat or the weather temperature. Whereas if you see the relationship, so if sun burn would be there, heat would be there. Obviously, we'll try to eat more cooling things like ice cream or maybe charge, lassi or whatever. So, but there is no causation between the sunburn and eating ice cream. It is because of the weather condition. It is because of the temperature. But again, again, as I told you that I have experienced. I might be wrong, but I have experienced this a lot of times that people get confused, or scholars get confused between correlation and causation. So it's very clear that cause is created by the sun or by the temperature, and there is a relationship between the ice cream and sunburn. Before we, proceed further, I would like to discuss, a few things. So let me go back to the previous slide. I'm not able to minimize that. Just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. So let me go back to let's talk about the inductive versus deductive reasoning. Uh, Inductive, the inductive reasoning basically, the emphasizes on the observation first, then, on the pattern, and then basically on tentative hypothesis, and then forming the theory. So it is basically, studying several, maybe in case of, the example we are discussing. So if we will go for inductive reasoning, it would be, studying the several individual cases to draw a journal conclusion. So it would be a study of different people, individuals, to draw a generalized conclusion of a generalization. And it is an inductive reasoning. These it would be, used when facts are studied, and truths are uncovered. So there are different facts which are studied, and there are different truths which are uncovered. So there we use inductive reasoning. Another reason to use inductive reasoning could be that it involves observation and generalization. So in inductive reasoning, the observations and generalizations are there. For example, retailer or organized retail malls or a store or a retail chain, puts cameras, into the retail stores to observe the, consumers' behavior, or to observe the visitors' behavior, whosoever is visiting, whether they are potential customer, actual customer, or not a potential customer. So, but to observe the behavior. So it's basically, it involves observation and ultimately generalization. So based on, let's say, when people are moving into my store, so the face expressions of few customers were not, very happy. But the moment they start, they started finding products in the shelf, they started enjoying the music, air conditioning effect. It reflects on their face. They started tapping their foot on the floor, or maybe nodding their head because they're enjoying the music. So I can journalize, based on this observation, that the music which is played by my store is liked by most of the people who are visiting my store. So we are basically, using inductive reasoning. So we are observing based on that observation. We are, generalizing. So because we have seen that many of the, people who are visiting our mall. I'm just giving an example. So giving my just visiting my store are enjoying the music, enjoying the shelf display. They are able to locate the products, so on and so forth. So this is, inductive reasoning, use of inductive reasoning to conduct research. And when we talk about, deductive reasoning, so it is first the theory. So it is reverse of inductive. In inductive, the first step is basically, observation. And after observation, it is the pattern, then the tentative hypothesis which we form, and then we go for generalization or go for, theory. Whereas in deductive, it is first the theory, which is considered, which is read, which is referred, which is, understood. And then it is the forming of hypothesis, then observation, and then confirmation. So most of the PhD scholars and field scholars, most of the academic work, we try to, we use the deductive approach in most of the work. So because it is first always which we refer, the theory, existing theories will take a review. And then on base of that, the hypotheses are formed. And then after forming the hypothesis, the observations are made. And then, the confirmation is done by analyzing the collected data and proving the hypothesis. Then it is basically deductive reasoning is, if you talk about the deductive reasoning, it says it's applied, journal principle specific, case. So, for example, all apples are fruits and all fruit grows on tree. So therefore, the apple, also grew on trees. So because we are trying to refer that, apples are fruits, and theory says that fruits are fruit grows on trees. So on base of this theory, we are making an observation that apples are, growing on trees. So apple grows on tree. So this is what, so because we know that apple is a fruit, and theory says that all fruits, grow on tree. So based on that theory, we are making an observation or hypothesis we are forming. First, we will have to form the hypothesis that we are framing the hypothesis that all apples grow on tree. So, and then we make the observation, and then finally, confirmation. So, so whether we use inductive or deductive in the research, it depends that what kind of research we are conducting. Whether we need to use inductive approach, inductive reasoning approach, or we need to use deductive reasoning approach. So we have to check that. So then let's come to the so let's have a fast recap of this what we have discussed. So first is it begins with a question of curiosity, that we need to have that curiosity. This is what the question which we have taken into consideration. That does drinking and drive increases the rate of car accidents. Then it is formulation of hypothesis, then which is based on obviously the previous study. Then we need to test the hypothesis to empirical research. So you use different tests for testing the hypothesis. Then either Z test, T test, two-tailed test, so on and so forth, chi-square test. So then obviously empirical research is what it is, that the experiment based on the research design, then the theory confinement, or based on test results, then application of theory by the practitioners. So we have talked about three kinds of research here, which is descriptive, experimental, and correlational. Then descriptive is what wherein commonalities, commonalities between the or among the people who are most likely to drink and drive will be found. Then experimental research would try to see that whether there is any difference between the rate of accidents with those people who are drinking and driving and those who do not. Then again, we talked about that which one would be the independent variable and which one would be the dependent variable. So drinking and driving is an independent variable, and accidents or no accidents would be independent variable. So basically, in correlation research, we try to find a relation between two or more variables if it exists. Then in this we have talked about sorry, in this we have talked about whether what is the difference between correlation and causation. So I'm sure that's very clear to all by this simple explanation. Then we have different approaches in social science research. So when we talk about approaches, first is positivism. So when we say positivism, what positivism is? Positivism is which is basically to establish the scientific laws of society, the causal relationship which are arrived by testing hypothesis as in science. So when we talk about causal relationship, when we talk about causal research, when we talk about cause and effect, then obviously we talk about positivism. We are having a positivism approach. So what causes what? So for example, the students or the students of a particular class were not able to perform well because they received less number of classes by the faculty. So we are trying to find the cause and effect relationship between the number of classes which were given to the individual class and the performance of that particular class. So then interpretivism is to build an understanding of the motives and intention that underpin social behavior. So understanding of the motives and intention that underpin social behavior. Wherein we try to, as a we try to journalize and understand that what are the different motives and intentions which causes a particular behavior. So this is interpretivism, which we talk about. Then critical social research is to ask critical questions with a view of changing society or to transform unequal power relationships in the society. So see here, positivism is what? Positivism is basically, so positivism talks about empiricism. So logical realism may be realism. Then it talks about objectivity. Whereas when we say interpretivism, it says that relativism and subjectivity. So relativism, that how one is related to another, and what is the subjectivity. So in positivism, it is objectivity. Then critical theory talks about historical realism, which is historical social structure, and then modifies subjectivity. So, for example, when we journalize that in Baniya community or in Malwadi community, people are more business minded. So it is basically a historical realism which we are trying to relate with the historical social structure. So we have seen, we have observed over a period of time, years, decades, maybe centuries, that this particular community. But it does not mean that other communities are not able to do business. It does not, interpret that it is only the, Banya community or, I'm not trying to be, any caste specific, but I'm just trying to relate it with, one example which is very common and which we, in daily routine say, and we have this kind of a perception that they are very good businessmen. Yes, they are undoubtedly, because I think we call them as that they have in their blood since very small age or childhood. They keep listening, they see, they observe, and they are uh, they are brought up with that particular environment. So they have that kind of knack. So to say that, so it is basically an example of historical realism which we try to relate with the old past, the history and the observations which are there. And when we talk about interpretivism, we are basically more subjective, not objective. So we are more subjective, means that things are in a way things are not specific. They are broad. They are larger. So we talk about basically we are focusing on subjectivity, whereas in positivism we talk about specific objectivity. So then we let's move on to the step 4, and we talk about social science research. So step 4 is what? It is basically followed by to draw conclusions based on the data which is collected by the researcher. So for example, in our example, we might conclude that drinking while driving increases the rate of car accidents. We might. So it depends only when we will conduct the study, and we'll see what kind of sample we have taken, from where we have taken the sample, so on and so forth. So, but we might conclude that drinking while driving increases the rate of car accidents. So fourth is when we conclude. Then step 5 is basically when we evaluate the conclusion. So in other words, that how do these findings increase our understanding of human behavior. So mostly the final step of evaluation leads to future research. So let's say, for example, we think that the drink and drive causes car accidents, or it has increased the rate of car accidents. In that case, another scope for research could be that whether gender has got any role to play in it. So maybe the data which you have collected will give you some kind of reflection or expression that there is a difference on rate of accidents between the women and the men. So maybe drinking and driving research may indicate that, that we need to conduct an additional research to determine that one sex is more likely to drink and drive other than the other one. So, so basically, the idea is that when we talk about, as a researcher, obviously, when we go to conduct research in social sciences, any, human behavior related to any particular phenomena will be, analyzed. For example, the HR specific issues or national behavior issues, which would be there, which would be part of social science studies. So any kind of human behavior, which would be studied based on, the it would be part of social science studies only. So all the management studies, all the commerce related studies are part of, social science studies. Just give me a minute. I just want to just bear with me for a minute, please. Just bear with me for a minute, please. Just a minute, please.
हेलो सर, आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है.
Just give me a minute. Just give me a minute, please.
ओके सर, ओके सर.
Thanks to be here with me. Am I audible?
Yes sir, yes sir. Now you are.
Thank you, Dr. Ji. Thank you very much. So sorry. Thanks to be here with me. So the idea when we were talking about the social science research, The idea is, see, I'm sure that, because being teachers and being into the research, academics, we all are extent with, different kinds of research, techniques, methods. And the idea is that when we are conducting the research, what is, the important aspect? I think most of the times we think that it is the tools which we use, it is the, it is the research design which we are, designing. It is the, the right kind of, approach towards, identifying the, research problem. But to be very honest, for me and whatever, little experience I have or whatever I have observed so far, first and foremost, neither the tools nor the technology, nor, other things. I'm not saying that they are not important. Obviously, they are important. What is the first important thing when we are, conducting the research? The first important thing is the idea, which has to be there. The curiosity, the question, research question, which is there. Without, I have seen, students, I have seen scholars, they come with the fancy words in their mind, and they come that we want to conduct research in a particular area. Let's say we want to conduct research in, human resource or marketing or any particular discipline of management or commerce. And when they come with vague and broad ideas in their mind, and they always say different. They think that they will use different tests. You will use CSA, EFA, STEM. You will use ANOVA, so on and so forth. To be very honest, when we start researching, when we start conducting researching, first and foremost is what exactly you want to research, what exactly you want to identify, what you are looking for. That is, I think, the most important thing, which most of the scholars don't understand and don't see. And I have seen that I don't know why people don't go for extensive literature review before even identifying their research problem. They read 10, 20 articles, maybe some research papers, and then they develop a notion or a perception that this is what it is, and they come up with their own ideas in their mind. And at the end, see, all the research would be in vague if you are not able to identify the research problem correctly. So first and foremost is that one has to identify the research problem correctly, for which one should go for extensive literature review. And only extensive literature review can help any individual or researcher or scholar to identify the research problem exactly and to understand what kind of tools, what kind of, tests one needs to, apply on this particular research or this particular phenomena. Then when we talk about, once it is done, then we say that what kind of research. So it is not one kind of research, which, candidate or a scholar would be conducting. Maybe it is a rich and mix of different kind of research, which one has to adapt in his, research. So that is again, something which is very important to select. And specifically when we talk about, because it is about human behavior, it is about, social science, discipline, the social science, subject. When we talk about identifying these, behaviors wherein the human beings are involved, wherein there is no consistency, like in natural science, there is a consistency. If you mix one particular, chemical into, that X, if you mix X into Y, the result would be same. But when you talk about, social science research, when you talk about human beings, the result is not consistent on. The result is not fixed. So that's why it is very important to understand at the first hand that what exactly we are researching, and then only need to apply that what kind of research we need to conduct, and then only that what kind of tools we need to, apply or we need to use for our study. So, I mean, this is what personal experience I have seen many a times it happens, and with good scholars, with good, students, meritorious students in our department. I have seen that students who score very well and clear net JRF in one attempt, even they are not clear about this idea, and they don't think that literature review is important. They come with their own notions and they don't go for literature review. So I think literature review is something which is very important, even identifying the problem. The first thing is that having the idea that what you want to do and what kind of research you want to conduct. Then accordingly you need to understand that what type of what type of research you would be conducting, and then what kind of tests, so on so forth. And when forming the hypothesis, again, that has to be based on the literature review and past data and the past information. So while forming the hypothesis, what kind of hypothesis needs to be formed is also very important. Whether it should be simple hypothesis or complex one, whether null hypothesis are required or not. People today, when you see that studies, you will find that there are null hypotheses which are not being framed in recent studies. So, but still, students and scholars, they make null hypothesis because again, you need to see whether it is required or not, whether you need to make null hypothesis or you don't need to make null hypothesis, so on and so forth. Whether this is an empirical hypothesis or it is basically hypothesis which is a statistical hypothesis. When we were talking about hypothesis, we were talking about some hypothesis like some complex statistical. So when we talk about these hypotheses, we have to see. So as I told you that if it is only one dependent variable, it's a very simple hypothesis we are talking about. If it has got more dependent variables, so we are talking about the complex hypothesis. Then we have alternate hypothesis, wherein the sample observation are influenced by some non-random causes. Then we have the statistical hypothesis, wherein we we will try to bring the statement which would be logical or maybe illogical, but satisfy should be verified by statistics. Then only it will be called as statistical hypothesis. So obviously once it is proved, then only that hypothesis will be called as statistical hypothesis. Then there are a few other hypotheses which are known as non-directional hypothesis, directional hypothesis. So in directional hypothesis predicts the direction of the relationship between the independent and dependent variable. So whether what is the direction or what is the relationship between the independent and dependent variable. So for example, let's say the high quality video conferencing will lead to high quality of inputs in a meeting, for example. So let's say I'm like just trying to put a hypothesis, hypothetical example. Let's say that high quality of video conferencing will lead to high quality of input in a meeting. So it is basically a relationship between the quality of the network or video conferencing facility and the quality of the deliberation. So if there is no intermittent connection, like right now I am facing at my place, so there is problem again and again. So that's why I have to I have to reduce the consumption of my internet. So when you need to reduce the consumption, you have to switch off your camera, you have to turn off other things. So if the quality of video conferencing or maybe the network would be better, the input would be better, there would not be any intermittent connection, there would not be any intermittent voice, so on and so forth. So this is called directional hypothesis. Then we have non-directional hypothesis. Non-directional hypothesis predicts the relationship between independent variable and dependent variable, but it does not specifically tell the direction of the relationship. So for example, let's say teacher-student relationship influence students' learning. So if I say that teacher-student relationship influence student learning, but there is no specific direction which is given to it. So when we talk about relationship, it means what? What kind of a relationship we are talking about? Are we talking about interpersonal relationship between students and teacher? Are we talking about, are we talking about the relationship only as a teacher and a student? So the direction of the relationship is not clear. That's why it is called as non-directional hypothesis. So in the earlier example, when I said that the network quality, or the network or high quality of, video conferencing facility will lead to high quality of inputs during a meeting is basically a directional one, which is directly related and it is giving a direction. Whereas when I say that in another example, when I say that teacher and student relationship influence student learning, in that case, what kind of relationship are we talking about? Is it a relationship like a parent and son? Is it a relationship like a guardian? Is it a relationship like only a teacher? Or it is a interpersonal relationship or what? Or as a teacher, facilitator and student, what the direction is not clear. So then we have, causal hypothesis, which predicts a cause and effect relationship of, or, the interaction between the independent variable and dependent variable. So causal hypothesis, as the name says, is causal hypothesis. It is basically, maintaining a cause and effect relationship, trying to establish a cause and effect relationship or an interaction between the independent variable and dependent variable. So this predicts the effect of the independent variable on the dependent variable. So if there would be any manipulation or any slight change in the independent variable, what would be the effect on dependent variable? So it basically predicts about the effect of independent variable on the dependent variable. Then there are, associative hypotheses. Associated hypothesis basically predict the associative relationship between the independent variable and the dependent variable. Now, when I say associative relationship, what is this associative relationship? It is that when there is a change in any one of the variables, changes also occur in the other variable. So if there would be any change in one variable, the changes would be, there in another variable also. So it is basically trying to establish the association or associative relationship between the independent variable and dependent variable. So basically, these are the kinds of, hypotheses which are formed, and these are basically the, like these are the different classifications of hypothesis. Again, when we are going to, study in social science, we have to see that what kind of hypothesis we have to frame, because ultimately your whole research revolves around your objectives and hypothesis. Ultimately, you as a scholar or a researcher, me as a scholar researcher, are trying to, either prove or disprove our hypothesis and trying to achieve the objectives. So the whole study will revolve around objectives and hypothesis. It's very important that while, designing the hypothesis, we should keep in mind that what we are studying and, what exactly we want to, study. And then we have to, that we have to identify, once identify that there is, you know, uh, there is what kind of study we want to conduct, then we have to only select the kind of hypothesis, we are going to form. So because it is basically a direction to our study, we have to, give direction to our study through the hypothesis only. So I'm not able to, present my screen. There is, internet issue at my end in the beginning also. I tried a lot to connect and then I have to, reconnect again and again. I think it was thrice I had to connect and then there was some issue that my video was not turning up. So if I turn on my video, it creates a lot of problem, and I'm not able to then. Just give me a second, please. I don't know whether this is an issue with my laptop, because at times the Mac does not support few things, and this has happened earlier also in Zoom. So there is no problem in Google Meet, there is no problem with Microsoft Teams, but there is some problem with this Zoom. Just give me a minute, please. So sorry. Give me a minute, please. Thanks to bear with me. At times, these technical glitches, it happens at times. So maybe it is a problem at my end. I apologize for that. So it is basically, it was, I think we are close to the end now. So we have talked about, the steps and the way we need to conduct social science research, the importance of hypothesis, the types of, different research, briefly, obviously. And the idea is that, social science research is basically utilized in many fields, not only in management or commerce field, but in the field of psychology, in the field of sociology, in political science, in anthropology. So these are basically the areas where social science research, is conducted. So be it commerce, management, psychology, sociology, political science, anthropology, and it basically relies upon, they are the fields which rely upon social science research to understand and make predictions about, human behavior. So I think that's all from my side for today. I will request Nitesh to take up questions, because I think it's almost uh, 10 minutes or so we have. So Nitesh, if you can please take up a few questions
Sure,
which
sir.
maybe participants must have sent.
Sure, sir. I request all the participants to kindly ask questions, if any, using the chat option.
Rakesh ji, Nitesh, and all the participants. I'm sorry for some technical glitch at my end, because of which, there
No
were
problem,
issues
sir.
of.
No problem at all, sir. No problem. Yes.
Thank you, Gupta ji. Thank you very much.
So take up the questions there.
Dear participants, you can ask the questions using the chat option. Is there any question? Ashish sir, I have a question. May I ask?
Yeah, Nitesh, please go ahead.
Sir, can you please suggest few latest topics of research in social sciences?
Social science, if you say as a whole, it's a big, area of research. Social science, as I told you, that involves, political science, involves sociology, anthropology, involves, commerce, management, so on and so forth. So I think it's a very broad and, very broad question that suggests research. Maybe if the participant can tell us that in which area, so maybe, I can help. So social science, to conduct research in social science, any aspect or any area of human behavior is basically, part of social science. Today, we talk about marketing. Neuromarketing is an area, which is part of, social science, which is an emerging area. So in marketing, neuromarketing is something on which a lot of work people are, trying to do, but because a lot of, lot of techniques of, the diagnostics are required, like MRI scanning and so on and so forth. So far it is not possible, and in fact in Asia and even in West also, only very few pieces of research is available. So then if we talk about the HR in social science, so in HR if you talk about that, what are the emerging areas where a person can conduct study. So I think in HR, today people are talking about compensation realignment because of this COVID-19, and a lot of companies are already taking care of, to reduce the cost. So again, compensation management could be one area where people can start conducting research in today's global pandemic situation. So I think I'm able to answer this question this much only because social science as a field is a big field.
Yes. Thank you, sir,
Please
for
take
answering
another
my question. There is a question from Ms. Sonal Gupta. How to know a topic is good enough to take up for research? For example, is work-life balance, can she take work-life balance as her research topic?
Can you please tell me the name once again of the
Ms. Sonal
participant?
Gupta. Ms. Sonal Gupta.
Sonalji. See, how to know that whether this area or this topic is good to conduct the research is, it is literature review, and I think research people, I have seen that scholars hesitate to conduct research in the field or on the topic where you feel that the literature would not be available. But I think research, today, unfortunately, we talk about every year, every month. In fact, you can see that a lot of PhD, thousands of PhDs are awarded in different universities, different institutions. And if we see the number of patents, how many patents or copyrights we have, so, like it's unfortunate to say that we have research scholars, PhDs, MPhils, we are conducting so good academic research, but when it comes on patents and copyrights, we don't have any. How many academicians, have copyrights? Like it's a question we need to introspect. Even including me, I'm also part of that academic fraternity. So the idea is that we hesitate at times to conduct research in the area where literature is not available. But the fact is the topic, should be something which will bring, newness, something new. So if you find that a lot of work has been done, do not select the topic just for the, sake of doing the research on it, and you will get the data and it would be easy. No, I think it should be reversed. You see that where the scope of research is more, on which topic less, number of research papers are available, less research has been done, and what is the research gap on which you can research. So I think work-life balance, which you said, a lot of research has been done, but it's a good topic, undoubtedly, and a topic which will always remain in the forefront because it talks about maintaining balance between work and life. So you can always take up this topic, but try to bring a new paradigm or a new perspective into it. So not only with satisfaction and work-life balance, not only with expectation and work-life balance, but something maybe work-life balance and performance productivity. Again, ये सब बहुत हो चुका है. So I think work-life balance आप हमेशा ले सकते हैं, but try to see what new dimension or paradigm or perspective you can add into it. Thank you, Nitish. You can take up another question.
Thank you, sir. There is another question raised by Ms. Sonakshi Jaiswal. She is asking, is emotional advertising part of neuromarketing?
Sonakshi, emotional advertising is not part of neuromarketing, but yes, because neuromarketing was not existing earlier, and now when we talk about neuromarketing, it has become a part of neuromarketing. So when we talk about using the EQ, SQ, spiritual quotient, emotional quotient, intelligent quotient, when we talk about using the tech quotient, which is PQ, which is used for electronic gadgets and their comparisons and so on and so forth. So whenever we talk about using these kind of quotients and using in advertisement, obviously they have become earlier they were, the idea is that, in the social science, you will see that it is something which is done already in the market, and then it is, or maybe it is already practiced, and then it becomes the concept. Most of the times you'll find that it is not like natural science that something is being developed in the laboratory and then it is taught in the class. Rather, it is something which is already being practiced and then it is brought in the class. So the idea is that when you say that whether they are part of neuromarketing, they were not earlier, but now, yes, they are, part of neuromarketing. Thank you, Nitish. Any
Thank
other
you,
question
sir,
if you want to take up?
for answering all the questions. And I want to congratulate you for such a wonderful session, sir. Thank you for enlightening us about research in social sciences. Thank you once again, sir.
Thanks to the participant, thanks to you, thanks to Dr. Gupta ji, thanks to your principal,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Gupta, my,
Thank you.
one of my very, good friends. And thanks to you to host this session and wonderfully managing the session. And thanks to all the participants, lovely participants for their, participative, involvement and patient listening. And I regret for few of the technical glitches which were there from my side. Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me.
Okay, thank you,
Bye-bye.
sir.
Take care. Bye-bye. Take care. Thank you.
Dear participants, now it's time for session 2 on advanced research tools. Dr. Subodh Kesharwani is with us. Dr. Subodh Kesharwani is an academician with a bronze medal in his postgraduate and doctorate in ERP system in 2002 from Allahabad Central University. He is one of the researchers who had concentrated his research on total cost of ownership and critically evaluate ERP vendors, including SAP. Kesharwani is presently an associate professor, School of Management, a total of 20 years of hardcore teaching and research in information systems
सर राकेश बोल रहा हूँ पीजीडी सर
and
जी
its
सर आपका प्रोफाइल चाहिए था मुझे
various domains of management at Indira Gandhi
ठीक
National Open University, New Delhi.
ओके सर थैंक यू सर थैंक यू
He is presently an expert in various burgeoning areas and had delivered a talk as a trainer on MOOCs in building e-commerce, technology-enabled learning, e-resources, technology uses in research, blockchain, internet banking, enterprise information system, free and open source software, etc. Dr. Subodh had developed and coordinated a program in entrepreneurship and business skills in collaboration with Rajiv Gandhi Foundation, India, and Commonwealth of Learning, Vancouver, Canada, which provides training to the trainers at IGNOU. He is presently a program coordinator of IGNOU and Institute of Cost Accountants of India Alliance. He is also founder editor of a peer-reviewed refereed journal entitled Global Journal for Enterprise Information System from 2009. The Journal of JEIS is equipped with DOI from ProSref USA and listed in almost 50 directories in the world with an impact factor of 1.90. Dr. Kesharwani had participated as a debater in diverse TV shows and participates in interactive radio counseling, including Gyanvani and Gyan Darshan. He had been awarded IT and Excellence Award 2012 in the field of ERP solution by ARDWG's selection committee at IIT Delhi. He is in the panel of the steering committee of the International Journal of Computing and is Kagera, USA. He was in the key panel of roundtable workshop conducted corporate affairs in association with Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs to streamline corporate data management and governance. He was one of the resource people who shared the experience with 5 different ITAC countries participants at International MDP. Sir, it's a moment of delight to have you with us today for this session number 2 of Day 6, Advanced Research Methods. I welcome once again Dr. Subodh Kesarwani. Sir, I request you to kindly take charge of your session.
Thank you, Nitish, for providing me an opportunity. It's really, I think my video is visible to all. My video is visible to all.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
No, my video is visible to all or not?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
My video is visible. The slide which I have shared is coming.
Yes, sir, slide is coming.
Okay. Okay, it's fine. I think now I'm audible and visualized also, right?
Yes, sir,
100%.
you're audible. Your video is coming and your presentation we can see.
Thank you, Professor Gupta, Principal of PGDAV Evening College, for providing me an opportunity. It's really, a matter of great pride that I am here with the interaction with the teachers. It's really a good thing for the teacher to, provide something which is going to work as an add-on. So, teaching to the teachers is really, it's not everybody cup of tea, but again, we are here to talk a very contemporary topic, that is technology in education. So, if we go more into the depth of topic, I think we have got another 1.5 hours, in which we are going to talk more about the education, how the education is going to change. Because right now, if you talk more about the new education policies is on the way, and there is a hue and cry situation that how this education policy is going to be implemented, because it's and the whole system become or rather we can say haphazard, and how the things are going to be done. This is a big challenge for the teachers, because right now the teachers philosophy had been changed, and we are no more a conventional or stereotype teachers. We are a teacher with the gadgets, with the the technology in our hand. So technology is something which is going to play a very vital role. I was having a discussion, having a 3-4 rounds of discussion with Dr. Gupta, and he was very much emphasizing on the topic that you can choose technology in education. So the reason behind is that when we more talk about the education, I think uh, uh, if you education is something which is going to play a very vital role, and when you talk about the technology, it is something which work as a educator, or rather we can say a navigator, because the robotics is coming up, the big data analytics is coming up, and there are certain contemporary thoughts which are coming up, like industry 4.0, and electronic learning had come up. If you go more into the backdrop, you'll find out uh, maybe 2 decades, 3 decades back, nobody was talking more about the learning. The reason behind was that everybody was talking about something which can educate people, but learning is something which is perpetual in nature. And this PGDAV college is a constituent college of Delhi University, and in Delhi University they have created a department called lifelong learning. The intention is very clear, that when they are going to talk about the lifelong learning, it means that the learning is perpetual in nature, and you have to learn the things for a longer time. So right now the model had been changed, and we have moved from this learn, unlearn, and then relearn. So this kind of model had come up, where learning is going to be changed. So in this 1.5 hour sessions, we are going to talk more about how the technology is going to uh, add a feather in a cap, because the way technology is changing, the education is also changing. Uh, I think we all are familiar with the MOOCs, that is massive open online courseware, and there were some initiators who had done the wonderful jobs, and Anant Agarwal is one of them. He is one of the founders of edX. So what he is saying, that there were no printing revolution or no educational revolution, and the only revolution which had come up was the printing press, and that was 2 decades back. And right now, the revolution come up, it is nothing but this online education. So online education had bring the paradigm shift in various aspects. The whole pedagogy had been changed. Whole teaching pedagogy is differentiated, and the way things are, the way pandemic stage had come up, we all have used the technology use the technology, and this webinar and this online interactions had come up in a big way. So this technology in education is all about how the education is going to put the flavor of technology. It's not like that every time you talk about technology, you don't talk about the education, because ultimately, if machine is going to dominate the humans, ultimately what will happen, the purpose behind the human touch is going to be dismantled. So keeping in mind all those things, we are going to talk more about how the contemporary trends had changed up, how the technology is going to bring a lot of changes, and how the mindset is going to be changed, because changing the mindset is something which is going to play a very vital role. If you're going to change the mindset, end of the day, technology is something which can come and go. There was a time when technology was the computers, but after a certain time, the gadgets had taken a shape. And right now, it's not like that education is something which can be done in the in the institutions. Education, you can educate people, the education is going on in a different manner. Our mothers, our wives are in kitchens, and we learn many things from them. So education is something which starts from there, and it's not like that you can confine to the four walls. So that is the reason, taken into the philosophy which had come up, like hybrid learning or hybrid philosophy had come up. We are going to talk more about the certain things, and I think lot of things need to be taken care while my discussion will go on. And I love to interrupt me in between if you have any questions. I think we can respond or reciprocate at that juncture, rather than at the end I'm going to take something in between. But best part is that if you have any questions, you can just put on the chat box, and the moderator, Mr. Nitish ji, will facilitate us, and definitely we will answer those query, those who are there in between. So there's a very famous quotation which says that if there's a will, there is a way, and if there is no will, there is only survey. So what we have observed that the way things are going to be changed, technology is something which is going to play a very vital role. But how we are going to use the technology, it's not like that. What I have talked about, that whether it's in the dominating stage, or every time you talk about the technology, like the manner we do in the research. There was a time when research was purely stereotype, and after a certain time we observe that SPSS comes into picture. And if you go more into the backdrop of SPSS, you will find out that it was software package for social sciences. So why they have created this SPSS? Because the intention was very clear. When the research was originated in the maybe 3 decades, 4 decades back, it was not pure. It was purely a cup of tea of the science graduates, or the technicians, or the engineers. But after certain time, the certain observations had come up that why not the research can cross the boundaries, and it can become for the social science scientist or for the management scientist. So keeping in mind, all those things, what we observed, that this philosophy had come up, and from there this SPSS had been introduced. So right now you see this algorithm had come up, and algorithm is not confined with the mathematics, but it is used by uh, by the educationists for doing the research also. And research had also been changed. I think somebody had talked about the massive open line courseware, and we have seen that how the writing of the paper had changed, how the citations, how the impact factor, how the indexing had given the new roof to the authors, that how they are going to develop themselves, and how they can get the penetration about the articles, and the footfall is going to be come, and that footfall is something which can boost the morale of the researchers. And it's basically tell us that how many papers had been viewed by the individual. So these citations had come up. So all these something which had given a roof to the education, bringing a paradigm shift and making a lot of changes. And this is all about technology, and we will definitely talk more about the technology, how the technology is going to be work. I think if we go to the particular image, we observe that at the birth of the human being, we started with hunting society, then agrarian society was there, then industrial society was there. And if we talk in the present scenario, I think then information society, and then finally the super smart society come up, where artificial intelligence, big data analytics, blockchain technology, and all those the contemporary thoughts which had come up. So education is now it's not like a human is interacting with a lot of humans. Maybe the technology is there which work as a robots, and robots are interacting with the students who are considered to be the humans. So this super smart society had come up, and all those things had bring a lot of changes. So we have seen that the thing started by the corporate world, and after certain time what we observe, that things are going to be changed with the change of time. And this is a technology which is going to play a very vital role. There are certain technologies which we are using, and which we are using for educational purposes. And like the blockchain technology I'm talking about, when you go more into the backdrop, you will find out that Satoshi Nakamoto, who was the founder of blockchain technology, he had created this blockchain technology just to regulate the bitcoins, which was sometime legalized legalized in some countries, and in some countries it was banned. Like in India, recently we have legalized this Bitcoin thing. And if you go more into the backdrop, you'll find out that this virtual currency is now introduced by the social networkers, by the other players, and gone are the days when you will find out that this is going to replace the conventional money. So this is where the things are going to be changed. And from that blockchain technology, what we observed that it was something which was started to regulate the bitcoins, but right now the model had been changed, and we have seen that it is crossing its wear boots and going into the different aspects. And one of the aspects is education, the health industry. So blockchain technology is something which is playing a very vital role. And if we go more into the depth of this blockchain technology, we find out that we are a regular user of this blockchain technology. Like WhatsApp. In WhatsApp we are making a group, and when we float one message, it will goes to the multiple people. This is called the blockchain technology, where things are linked. And other example is the Google Drive example, where we create a Google Forms, and we put some files, and that file is going to be shared by a lot of people. And at the same time, a lot of people can edit it, a lot of people can work on the particular file. So this is some of the way the technology is going to be changed. And this had and a lot of change are coming up. There were some universities in the Western world which were purely brick and mortar universities. But what happened in the present scenario? They have shut down their brick and mortar approach, and they become online universities. In India also, there are 100 universities which are going to be earmarked, and they are going to create wonders in the coming years. So it's not like that the new university is going to become. The existing universities like Delhi University, which is pioneer in as far as the education is concerned, they are also changing their mindset and bringing a lot of changes in this particular aspect. So what we observe that things are going to be changed in a very gradual manner, and in coming years you will find out this this contemporary approach is going to do the wonders. So there is a very famous quotation which says that once you stop learning, you start dying. So learning is something which is perpetual in nature, and Delhi University is one of the universities in India. I hope they have started with the center called Center for Lifelong Learning, and the intention was very clear that learning should be always perpetual in nature, and it should be always in a learning mode. So and after certain time, the thing had been changed, and we have moved from learn, then unlearn, then relearn. So relearn is like in the pandemic stage, what we have done. We have changed our stereotype approaches. The teaching pedagogy had been changed. We have developed new tools. As far as the school teaching is concerned, the school teachers have also changed themselves a lot. The students have changed them a lot. It's not like that the sender is changing, but the receiver is also changing their approaches. So this is something which is very very robust, very holistic, and this is something which is quite friendly. So this kind of model had come up where we have observed that technology is an enabler, technology is itself a learning. That is very true, because when we talk about technology, it's not like that what technology is going to educate. When the people want to change themselves, people are their intention is quite clear, quite positive, and when they want to change themselves, ultimately you observe that this is itself a learning, because they are adapting the new things, and adaptability is something which is going to play a very vital role. If you're not going to adapt the change, ultimately what will happen, you stands nowhere. So change is something which can always come up, but how frequent you are to adapt the change. And it's not like that you can revamp and change the whole process in a day. And there's a very famous quotation which always says that Rome was not built in a day. If you want to change the whole thing and in one shot, ultimately what will happen, the whole system become haphazard. When I was pursuing my PhD long back in 2002, maybe 18 years back, at that time uh, uh, everyone was talking about the integrated softwares, and they want that things that software is going to bring the change. But what I'm thinking, that change is something which is quite robust and quite holistic, and it requires a lot of attention and adaptability by both the ends, by the receivers, by the senders. So this need to be taken care. So not using technology will put academician on deathbeds. That is very true, because the way things are changing, the way people have changed up, and in this pandemic stage, you observe that a lot of seminars had come up, webinars had come up, a lot of technology enabled learning had come up. And it's not like that the players who exist like edX, Coursera, Khan Academy, Simple Learn, those who are using the MOOC platforms, they were there. But the indigenous platform had also been developed. Like if you talk about Swayam Prabha or Swayam, MHRD is doing a great job in this direction. And as far as authority is doing, that is good. But on the other hand, what we observe, that that the teachers are playing a very vital role, and they are the one who are bringing a change. So change is something which need to be done in a positive manner, and if not forcefully acute. If you are going to forcefully impose anything, ultimately what will happen, that change is not going to uh, apply the manner it need to be. So this need to be taken care in a more systematic manner. And if you see this particular image, you will find out that there was a struggling student, and then at last you will find out the successful student. So the journey starts from this struggling student, and then digital curriculum is personalized, then inquire, create, connect, confirm, and then finally successful student. So if you go into the backdrop, you will find out that a lot of change is going to be occurred. Like there was a time, I'm taking example of e-commerce portals, I'm taking example of an e-book. I think everything had its own utility, and when ebook philosophy had been introduced in US, the people have a feel in their mind that this is going to eradicate the market of the conventional books. But what happened, when we go into the research, we find out that no doubt that ebook market had been enhanced, but on the other hand, this stereotype book, that is conventional book market, had also come up. So they were the market for the readers who are reading with the Kindles, and they were market for the readers who are still believe in the stereotype book. So what I mean to say, that need is going to be changed. And today, if you talk in an education perspective, we are more talking about learning, we are more talking about electronic learning, we are more talking about online learning, we are more talking about hybrid learning. So what exactly this hybrid? We have seen that the industry 4.0 is something which talks about automations of the cars, and the hybrid cars had come up. The Tesla is the company who had developed a car which is the chauffeurless, and and the technology is going to run that car. So what we observe that, and this hybrid age has come up where there is no role of fuels, and the electric is going to run the car. So and these lithium polymer batteries which are there, which is going to play a very vital role. So what we observe that things are going to be changed with the change of time, and if we are going to adapt the change in a more systematic manner, it is going to create a wonder. So when we talk about hybrid learning is new kind of philosophy which is coming up, which provides learners a platform that they can choose their syllabi as per their convenience, complete the course as per their convenience. And if you talk about the new education policy, it's more talks about the credit policy. If you achieve the credit in a particular duration, or before the duration, you are going to get your master's degree or UG degree, or the other degrees in a fast track mode. So this kind of model had come up. So definitely we are going to talk more about all those things. And if you have any query, just update to your moderators. We will try to reciprocate. We will try to answer that query at that juncture only, so that the problem which is going on in your mind is need to be resolved. So I think there are certain things which need to be taken care of while going into the depth of the topic which I have chosen today. Uh, we know that there was a time when we talk more about the after Christ and before Christ, but right now we are talking more about the pre and post Google era. So if you talk about the pre and post Google era, this is like the Google originated afterwards. Those who have gone, so their mindset, their approach is going to be changed. So push and pull approach is more student centric, what I was talking about, rather than imposing a syllabus, rather than making a curriculum and give it to the students. This pull approach is more student centric, more consumer centric, which is going to provide a roof to the students, that they can design the syllabi, they can make the syllabi, they can choose the syllabi as per their convenience. So this kind of model had come up where no imposition on the individual, but what exactly they think, how they are going to customize that model is going to be taken care. So greenfield versus brownfield education is something which is a need of the hour. We have seen that there was a time when we study in the schools, or the kids going to the schools, or before pandemic, what had happened. Right now the model had been changed. There's a paradigm shift from greenfield to brownfield, and this brownfield education is basically talking about the brown table and brown chair with the help of laptop. You are doing a lot of education on your home, and the learning is quite contemporary in nature because it is equipped with learning management system, the content management system, and there are certain software, there are certain tools which are working as add-ons and making a learning more student friendly, more agile, more active. So this kind of thing is there. So brick and mortar is replaced by click and mortar, and technology is going to play a very important role. Website is now replaced by the app, and we have seen that how the application is going to play a very important role. And this application is somewhat more customized, more user friendly, and more student friendly. So all these, the big players, if you talk about edX, if you talk about Coursera, if you talk about Khan Academy, Simple Learn, or in India, Udemy or Swayamprabha, now everything is moving through app. So application is somewhat, the application software, and this is quite more customized, more user friendly, more student friendly. So the learning will be quite easier in that case. So learning is replaced by the lifelong learning. We have seen that there was a time when there was a age restrictions. Indira Gandhi National Open University is one of the universities which have started this kind of pedagogy, that there will be a modular approach, and there will be a, a lifelong learning model where learners are of different age brackets. Somebody is of 18 years of age and somebody is of 65 years of age. So there is no such age restrictions. So what exactly these all things had done? This had opened the roof and put us away from the stereotype approaches. So transitioning into the hybrid age, this is something which is going to play a very important role. And hybrid learning, I have talked about the hybrid age where things are quite blended in nature, and it had a combination of face to face, it had a combination of electronic learning, it had a combination of the contemporary approaches. So transitioning into the hybrid age is coming up, and it's not that hybrid age is confined to the automobile industry, but in all the industry, the educational industry, we talk about the other industries, this hybrid model had come up. So this is something which had given roof to the individuals and bring a paradigm shift. Now, generation of renters is something which is quite exciting, because in US somebody had written a very good article which talks about the generation of renters, and this generation of renters mentioned that people are not going to buy any expensive thing, no expensive houses, no expensive cars. If they are going to buy a house, they believe in Airbnb, they believe in Ola, they believe in other OYO rooms. So this is going to facilitate them. So as far as the taxi is concerned, they will be on Ola, they will be on Uber and other things. So this generation of renter is something which is changing the mindset of the individuals. So keeping in mind, if you more go into the depth of this new education policy, you will find out that skilling is something which is going to be give utmost attention. So how you're going to skill the individual, how you're going to provide them a job opportunity, because end of the day, learning should be linked with the employment. If there is no employment, ultimately learning is useless. So that is the reason, this different kind of approach had come up, where credit system is going to be introduced. Some credits you can achieve in the classrooms, some you can do it online, some you can achieve by working in the corporate houses. So all those credits is going to be merged, and by that the degree is going to be given. So what we observe that this generation of renters, this collaborative research and other thing is going to play a very vital role. And when you talk about the collaborative research, this is something which had bring a lot of change in India, because the researchers are coming up with the different approaches. And what we observe that this collaborative research is something which is a joint research. And this is something where the Indian researchers, Indian academicians are lacking. But now this model had come up where industry and academia are coming together, or the gamut of people are coming together and doing the research with a common intention. So this is where you will find out that things are going to be changed, and more change is going to be come up in the coming years, because the technology is something what we are going to say it's work as an educator. Uh, um, uh, it's not something which is away from the education, but it is part and parcel of the education, because right now education can't go with the help of technology. Because if you talk about the government's mandate, if you talk about the new education policy, if you see the other aspects, technology is one of the important ingredients as far as the education is concerned. So if you see this a particular thing, this explaining technology, like what the Amazon is doing, if you see that in e-commerce, they have bring a lot of changes. They are doing a lot of research. The research which was, the cup of tea of the institutions or the universities or the defense they have used that. And that is the reason, you see how the Amazon had created a niche in e-commerce, because they have introduced all these contemporary thoughts like artificial intelligence or robotics. And cobotics is something which is coming up in a present scenario, because when you talk about the robotics, it's something where the robots are there. And when you talk about the cobots, it's basically the collaborative combination of robots and humans. So this kind of model had come up, and that is something which had created a niche. So Amazon, if you see how the Amazon is doing in e-commerce, that lot of changes coming up in Quora. I think there are a lot of academicians who are writing in Quora also. And if you are writing something on Quora or reading something on Quora, you can very easily know that the search engine, the algorithm is going to tell you that why not you can read this kind of answers, or you can write something which you have written in the past. So on the basis of your writing habits, on the basis of your reading habits, they are going to give you the questions. They are going to intimate you. So this is something which kind of model had come up. TED talks are coming. edX is something which I am going to talk maybe, and this is something which had done a wonders. And the started by the Harvard professors Anand Agarwal, and later on you see how they have collaborated with some flagship institutes in the world and create a wonder. So this is a model which is going to play a very vital role. And Uber ride sharing is there, then automotive model is coming up. So Tesla, what the Tesla had done, you see, everybody knows that they have they have made the cars which had created a niche. So this is basically a technology. So now there was a time where technology was just confined to the corporate houses, the business houses, but it had now crosses the boundaries. And open online courseware, if you talk about MOOC, edX had something which had done a lot of things into it. There are certain programs which are complementary in nature. There are certain courses which are at a throwaway price, and some are cheap, some are quite contemporary. So depend on your usage, depend on your uh, you know mm, uh, analysis, you can go for this particular course. So when we go more into the depth of this technological change, we see technological change must be distinguished from change in technique. That is something which is there, and technological change is the most important factor that determine rate of economic growth. Because how you're going to bring the change, I think when I have started my PhD in 2000, in 98, in 2000, so I have completed in 2003. So the biggest, and my topic was enterprise resource planning, which was an integrated software. So the biggest challenge was that it was a very expensive software, and it was, and all the Fortune 500 companies are buying those software. So it was not everybody cup of tea to buy that software. So there was hue and cry situation among the corporates that we can implement this software. And there was some good experience also, there was some bad experience also. The companies who have implemented, and they thought it's going to be work as a rocket science, it's going to bring the wonders, but nothing had happened, because you have not aligned with your legacy systems, you are not aligned with your existing manpowers, and ultimately what had happened, the whole system become collapsed, and their legacy system, their existing system become haphazard. So thinking about technology is something which need to be taken utmost care, because when you think of technology, it's like a rabbit. When you start evaluating it, take a shape of an elephant, and when you go for final implementation, take a shape of a dinosaur. So what I mean to say, the cost is going to be quite expensive affair, because right now it's not like that you talk about technology and you just get it. And there are certain costs which is quite infeasible. And if you are going to uh, implement those costs, ultimately what will happen, that your other budget is going to be haphazard. So how you're going to do that, because the way things are going to be changed, we have to change ourselves. The way the this e-learning players are broadcasting their lectures, the indigenous universities, or the universities which are coming up, they are not going to develop the content in that manner. So ultimately what I happen, that as a consumer, as a student, I always try to get the best out of that. So if I'm reading something on a web, I try to read something which is quite user friendly, quite friendly, so I will go for that. So the content, or the text or the thoughts need to be developed in such a manner that it should directly hit to the individual mind. So rather than developing something which could be substandard nature, it's better that we can develop something which can do something, or which can have a great impact. So now this is the biggest challenge. So when you're more talking about the technology, the more cost is there, because if you, it's like, thinking about rabbit and then finally you land up to the dinosaur. So you have planned that the cost will be 5 crores, and end of the day when you go for final implementation, the cost will be somewhere around 10 times of that. So sometimes we are not familiar with that this type of cost can occur, but finally when we go for implementation of cost, we see that the cost which we have thought of be escalated now. So this need to be taken care. What I mean to say that technology has deeply affected the global economy, and in pandemic you have seen that a lot of mindset had been changed. Not like that because institution had been closed, but the working of the teacher is not going to be closed, because the teacher or the educator always, as far as their learning is concerned, is always going on. It's not like that I'm in university, so I have got different approach. Being the genesis behind, the teacher is that it always believes in learning. So as far as if the person have got a teaching knack, no doubt that he is going to do something by which the add-on is going on. So what I mean to say that how how these things are going to uh, revamp the approach, and put something in black and white, that is quite important, because as far as we Indian educators are concerned, we are doing a lot of repetitive things, and that repetitive things are somewhat overlapping with the other work. So this is where the collaborative research and the research matters, because by the research, by the literature review, you are able to know what exactly the gap is, and then from that you start the research. There are certain research as far as the doctoral research are concerned, which are quite overlapping. Somebody is doing the similar kind of research in the particular jurisdiction. Somebody is doing the research on a pan-India basis, but more or less the results are somewhat same. So why this repetitive research? Why this sub standard research need to be eradicated? It's not like that. If you do the research, the effort is there, but how you can narrow down your research so that, and how your research can be collaborative with other person, that need to be taken care. And technology is something which is bringing a lot of change. And this collaborative research is something which also plays a very vital role, because this collaborative research can somewhat explore and find out that in which place and in which jurisdiction at what time the research is going on, and how you can club your research with that, so that repetition can be controlled. So anyway, this is something which is one of the example, and more things are, if you go more into the depth of this technology is like training to the trainers, and what I have told you is not a rocket science, or it's a there's no thumb rule behind that. You say that, and researcher and academicians are and when you talk about researcher and academician, the researcher, the as researchers, my intention is always to find out the gap, and when I get the gap, I frame the objectives, and on the basis of objectives, I create the hypothesis, and then my journey starts, like framing the questionnaires and other things, and respondents and data analysis and other things are there. But if you compare researchers with the academicians, researchers always emphasize on gap, and academician always try to fill the gap, because as a academician, it's our moral duty to to bridge the gap between the learning and the learners. So that is where things are going to be important, and openness should be there. I think if you go more into the depth, you will find out that free and open software is quite contemporary in nature. I think I'm audible. I'm audible to all. I think I'm audible since I'm speaking from a longer time. Nitishji, I'm audible to all. Hello, hello. I think I'm audible to all. Hello. Am I audible to all? Hello. 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 Hello.
Yes, sir.
Nitishji, I'm audible to all. I think I'm visible and audible to all if I'm not wrong.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay, fine. I thought since I'm speaking for a longer time and nobody had turned up, so I thought anyway. Is there any question from the audience? My slide is visible to all. My slide is visible to all.
Hello.
My slide is visible to all.
अच्छा अच्छा.
Hello.
So अगर 16th में purchase किया good supreme electric.
Hello. Should I continue? Nitish ji. Hello. 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 Yes. ठीक. Okay, please. Thank you. Thank you. I think this is visible. This is visible to all. Okay. Okay, fine. I think okay, fine. How many slide visible? The slide is visible to all. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, fine. So sorry for the interruption. I think so. This is something which is there. So I think you all are familiar with the example of pizza. I think uh, when you talk about the pizza, I think when you get the pizza is in square box. When you open it, it's in circle, and when you start eating, it's a triangle. So when you more talk about the technology, it's something which is more like that. So technology need to be taken care in the manner it need to be done. So now the question is that how technology add a feather in a research process, because research is something which is the backbone of a educator, of a teacher. And when you talk about the research process, when you talk about the data analytics, when you talk about the research methodology, it's very true that this is something which is going to play a very vital role. Uh, and when you more talk about the technology, it's nothing but integration, because integration is something which is going to integrate all the things. And if the integration is not done, ultimately what had happened, when you talk about the integration, you have to talk about the holistic approach, the consolidated approach. So this consolidated approach is nothing but how you're going to integrate the things so that best result can come up. And when you more talk about the integration, you have to see that there must be an integration between the learners and the instructors and the curriculum which need to be framed, so that because in the coming years you will find out what I have talked about, that robots and other things are going to be there. So from there the integration is going to be play a very vital role, starting from admission to evaluation and finally getting the results. So future of education is therefore about harnessing the drivers of change, and this Big Bang approach is need to be replaced, because when you talk about the Big Bang approach always believes in implementation of all the things in one shot, which need to be eradicated, and phase-wise implementation need to be done. And what we observe that this phase implementation is something which requires time. So this is something which is there, and linking technology with SDLC, like the paradigm approach is there. It started with planning, then analysis, then design, then development, then implementation, and then maintain. So SDLC, system development life cycle, is there, and this this could be the way by which the technology is going to be implemented. Either it could be implemented in the different sector, or in corporate world, or in academics. So everywhere you will find out that there must be a certain set frames which need to be taken care. So by that the things are going to be done. So when you talk about the technological education is something, uh, is the study of technology which emphasize learn about the process and knowledge related to technology, because it's not like that something which need to be developed for the particular purpose and can be taken care. There was certain knowledge which is there was certain process and knowledge which are related to the technology. So that technology need to be imbibed in such a manner that for the very purpose it need to be implemented. So as a field of study, it covers the human ability to shape and change the physical world to meet needs by manipulating materials and tools with the techniques. So and now what we observe that there are certain change which had come up, like institutions have asked teachers to teach from home, work from home. WFH model had come up. So it was, started with the corporate world, but right now what we observe that teaching from home model had come up. So teach from home, where teaching is going with the help of certain tools like Google Meet, like Zoom, like uh, go to webinar, or the other tools which are coming up. In the coming years you will find out more different kind of model had come up. So remote teaching is enabled by technologies, and this virtual private networks, voice over internet protocols, virtual meetings, cloud technology, work collaborations, and all these facial recognitions had come up. So this kind of, the model is going to bring a lot of change in technologies, because there was a challenge of, the proxy attendance or something. Now this is going to be reduced with the help of this facial recognition or voice-based recognition. So you will, in the coming years you will find out that this new kind of pedagogy, new kind of model is going to come up, which can bring a lot of change. So there are certain contemporary business environment like Internet of Things, which had been created by the Facebook, and which says that everything is linked with the internet. Then GDPR is quite omnipresent in the present scenario, because General Data Protection Regulator believes that the data of the individual is need to be protective, and if you're not going to protect the data, ultimately the penalty is going to be imposed. So when you, as an educator, as a enabler, if you are going to put the data of the learners, the it's a moral responsibility of the institution to safeguard that data. If they are not going to safeguard the data, ultimately what will happen, the institution will be in trouble. So this General Data Protection Regulator is going to play a very vital role. Its work as a watchdog, and finalize that how the things are going to be controlled. So Industry 4.0, blockchain technology, I've already talked about that, how the blockchain Satoshi Nakamoto had initiated, and right now blockchain is going to create a wonders as far as the technology, as far as learning is concerned. So algorithm and web-based analytics are changing with the change of time, and there are certain algorithm and web analytics used which provide the real information, the real-time information of the learners. Real time means, like, there was a time when the data was just, the name, email, and mobile. But right now the real time data is what exactly he or she supposed to do, at what time he is going to, go to the office, at what time he's coming back, at what time he's doing the window dressing, at what time he's keen to study. So this real time data, algorithm, and web analytics is going to bring a lot of change. And this algorithm and web analytics is going to provide learners, or the institutions, or the future, uh, about the future information of the learners, said that how we are going to take them and what kind of course they want to do. It's not like that you can develop a program which can be, designed or made for the particular masses. Now the customization comes into picture, where curriculum and syllabi need to be designed by the individual itself. So it's not like that the institution have developed the syllabi which would be common to thousands of students. Maybe 1,000 students can have their own syllabus or their own style of learning. So this new education policy somewhat talks about that. So then you have got big data, then you have got artificial intelligence, then artificial intelligence is somewhat changing because the role of the robots and the machine is quite important into it. So now we have seen that this industry 4.0 is also the term adopted by coalition of universities, and from there this work 4.0, learning 4.0, another model had come up. So GDPR I have already talked about, that it is a regulation which had been started in 2018 by European Union, and now a lot of things had been done. Every country is going to make their own GDPR policy, and definitely this is going to create a niche because it talks about the personal data, it talks about privacy impact assessment, then protect by design, data protection and data breach, data portability, and right to be forgotten. So this kind of thing had come up, which is going to bring a lot of change. So anyway, the data protection in education is also coming up. An educational institution, what I was talking about, must appoint a data protection officer and be able to prove that they are GDPR compliant. Because if they are not GDPR compliant, ultimately, what will happen? The data is going to be breached or leaked. So how they are going to control that data, that is a very severe things. And if they are not going to do all those things, ultimately the things and the institutions or the learners also in trouble. So keeping in mind, one has to take care about those things. The school must ensure that their third party suppliers who may process any of the data is GDPR compliant and must have legally binding contracts with any company that process any personal data. So when we talk about the blockchain, we have already talked about that how the blockchain is there. There are certain blockchain universities which are coming up, and in coming days you will find out a lot of change is going to be occurred. So what I was talking on that that contemporary business environment as per the scenario, if you talk about there is radical change, then sustainability uh, radical change is there, then sustainability, then values, focus on customers, focus on student, adaptability and execution. These are the business environment which are changing with the change of time, and we have seen that in the coming days you will find out that this sustainability is going to play a very vital role. The institutions developed, but after certain time, what happened? They are not going to sustain. Like as far as the BTech programs are concerned, we have seen that a lot of mushrooming had been come up, and if you go to Greater Noida, you will find out all the institutions are having the this particular program. But what about the employability? So that sustainability is something which is going to play a very vital role, and there are certain values which need to be imbibed into the curriculum. So the curriculum need to be designed in such a manner that it had a the basket is full of the various courses, and when learners used to adapt or take that courses, there are certain courses which need to be making compulsory, and some courses they can go for it. So this is something which is going to be there. And when you talk about the collaborative research, you see that adding technology to mix reduce the potential for human error, and cloud-based software started changing where researchers collect data. We have seen that there was a time when data was just putting on the brick and mortar servers, but this right now the cloud-based model had come up where the data is at the in your Google Drive, in your cloud data. So faster access to the good data, and you can use that data as per your own pace. So this had initiated a collaborative research, another model which is there. So now if you see, education is the most powerful weapon we can use to change the world. This is what the Nelson Mandela had said, and new form of education had come up, which have sustainability, adaptability, and it could be embedded. So if there are certain facts and figures, though I have talked a lot about all those things, and there are millions of kids who do not know any purpose of going to the institute. That is very true. And it's not like that it's about the school going kids, but about the college going kids also. So model of education we are running is clearly a dinosaur model, except obligations. They are bound to going. Today almost any knowledge can easily be accessed from anywhere at any time. So the quality content need to play a very vital role. So the same content, the same video, if you will find out, n number of YouTube videos, but you always try to go through the videos which have got, the good number of citations, or, the good number of footfalls. So so the quality content is going to come up, and you will find out that the contents which are quite rich in nature, have a thought-provoking approaches, are going to be acceptable in a more by the learners. A role which require transition from curriculum delivery to one of learner coach, that is there. And now, what need to be done? Students have to be encouraged to question the knowledge and methods taught by teachers, and there are some new innovative sides as an individual, as a collective thing which is there. So, if you see what is education now, I think we have talked a lot about technology and other things. Now, education is the process of facilitating learning or the acquisition of knowledge, that is skill, values, beliefs, and habit. So, learning to live together, what I was talking on, learning to do, learning to know, learning to be. So, learning is now more mm, uh, perpetual, more contemporary in nature, and this is the education all about. There was a time when education was confined to the four walls, but right now the education is had been changed, and some cross-border learning had also come up, where learners are virtually learning many things. So this kind of pedagogy had been developed. So I was talking of industry 4.0, and on the lines of that, this education 4.0 had been created. And if you talk more about the education 4.0, it's believed in anywhere, anytime learning, personal, it's quite customized, and flexible delivery is there. Like you have got a flexibility that you can get the delivery at per your pace and time. mm, Peers and mentors are 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 chosen by you, and those instructors, those mentors who have got good reviews, you can choose them. So it's not like that. There's a possibility that you can have your own instructors. So this kind of model had come up. So, and this why, where, not, what, how, and all those things are going to be there. So practical application had come up, where and this practical application is not in a face to face mode or in a brick and mortar mode, but it can be governed with a virtual manner also. So technology is quite sharp in this way, that virtual or real time learning had come up, where the pedagogy, the model, the software which you talk about, learning management system or CMS, the content management system, had been developed. So modular and projects approach are there. Student ownership are there. Different kind of model is there, where some in some of the universities we observe that the students facilitate in developing the contents also, developing the curriculum also, and finally they get the ownership in the curriculum also. And if the curriculum are appreciated or used by the other learners, somewhere their ownership is there, their stakes are there. So this kind of model had come up. Like we have seen that in different institutions they have created incubator cells, and these incubator cells are facilitating in getting the startups, and that startups are having participation by the student, by the mentors, or by the institutions. So this kind of model had come up, where evaluated, and evaluation is going to play a very vital role, and more emphasis given on evaluation rather than examined. So this is the thing which is there, and what we observe that on the lines of this 4.0, like in the mobile world, we have seen 3G to 4G, then 5G. So this future of learning had come up, which is forecast 5.0. This education 5.0 is having a different mandate, or rather we can say it's having some add-ons. What education 4.0 is there: organic and relevant curriculum, meaningful learning experiences, then transformative learning environment, then inspiring educators, then innovative delivery is there. So this kind of thing is going to play a important role, and we observe that things are going to be changed with that. So there is a clear cut shift from 4.0 to 5.0. Education 4.0, if you talk about, it's somewhat talking the present scenario, like the technology is somewhat going on, the data is on the cloud, the learning is blended in nature, like some learning are in face to face mode, some are in brick and mortar, some are in electronic mode, some. So Now what happened if you talk about paradigm shift from 4.0 to 5.0? The 5.0 believes in big data analytics, artificial intelligence, then cyberspace, and and AI is going to play a quite important role into it, because automatic way of learning will go on where robots are going to teach. So when and these robots are equipped with many intelligence, so ultimately the learning is going to be changed, and it's quite different what we are doing in the present scenario. So there's a paradigm shift which I was talking about, that it's personalized, repackaging, and peer-to-peer and continuous in nature. So in order to prepare future graduates for work, universities must align their teaching and process with technological advancement. And these technological advancement, which I am talking about, is nothing but changing with the change of time. It's not like that the technology which is available today you can consider as a rocket science, and don't update yourself. So the today's technology talks about the gradual mode of doing the things, or updations of the process. If you have updated and you are rigid that tomorrow you're not going to update, ultimately you become redundant. So this education philosophy needs to be changed, and it should be more pull approach rather than push approach. So what exactly the student think of, what exactly the as a consumer, or because right now the definition of the student is going to be changed. It's more like consumer in a kind of. So how the consumers are going to be uh, customized, or the students are going to be treated as a consumers. If you're not going to provide them a better service, ultimately they can switch off and go somewhere else. So this, if you talk more about the new education policy, I'm just putting the glimpse about that it's going to bring a lot of changes. And if you talk in Indian perspective, there will be a growing demand for humanities and arts. That is very true, because there was a time when everybody was thinking about medical engineering, but right now the concept has been changed. So India moved towards becoming a developed country, and this humanities and arts is also having a lot of potentials. How this multidisciplinary learning, and how this interdisciplinary learning, and other collaborative research and approaches are need to be taken care, that required. And skilling, now how you're going to bring the skilling, that is very important, because skill unskilled, if it is not linked with the employment, ultimately the issue is there. So there are certain difference between the education and learning. If you say education can be said to be a process through which a society passes, that includes knowledge, values, and skills for one generation to another. Learning can be defined as acquiring of new skills, which I was talking about, that learn, then relearn, unlearn, and then relearn. So education is the process of imparting knowledge, and learning is said to be ongoing process. So it's not like that if you have learned today, you are now quite rigid in nature. So something which is the need of the hour today may be redundant tomorrow. So how you're going to update yourself, how you're going to unlearn those things and relearn. You see in this pandemic model, the teachers have changed their pedagogy, teaching pedagogy, have tried to follow the contemporary approaches. They have started using, the technology. They have started using the web-based learning model, and this had created a niche. So one, we have to come out from the in this formal way of learning, like face-to-face approach, and the model need to, and recognition also going to be recognition, accreditation is going to play a very vital role, because learning is knowledge, and if you are not going to accredit, ultimately what happens, there will be the morale of the learners can go down, because if they are not going to get the recognition, ultimately they will be away from that. So this recognition need to be done. So if you talk, the purpose of learning is not confined in classroom, but to protect from pandemic, which is itself a learning. And we have seen that in the pandemic stage, how the India as a whole had worked, and as academicians, uh, we have done a marvelous job as far as the teaching and disseminating of knowledge is concerned. So if you see the digital learning, this digital learning is any type of learning that is accompanied by technology, that is creativity, effective pedagogy, then collaboration, then feedback, reflection, then thinking skills, student voice and ownership. So this is something which is a digital learning, which is somewhat called electronic learning, online learning, and it changes with the change of time. Now it's quite real time in nature, where evaluation and uh, mm, uh, examination is done at that juncture, and students used to reciprocate in a quite faster mode. So this kind of model is going on where we have observed that things are going to be done, and it includes blended and virtual learning, adaptive learning, and gamification is there. So now, mapping media to the curriculum, what we observed uh, that curriculum need to be illustrated in a more diagrammatic manner, in a more real-time manner, more pictorial presentation was something which was a old concept. Right now, the video and animation and some new approach had come up. So this is something which can create content to demonstrate the learning in a more systematic manner. So this is one of the founder of edX. He was MIT graduate teaching in Harvard, and one of the initiators and alumni of IIT Madras. And he believes that the only revolution which had come up was the printing press, which was 2-3 decades back, and afterwards it's online learning which had bring the change. And in the coming years you will find out this online learning with the help of robotics, with the help of big data analytics, with the help of you know machine learning, deep learning, internet of things. It's going to definitely do something what other institutions have not thought of. So there are some institutions which are now changing with the change of time, and in coming years you will find out more things are going to become. So what we observed that e-learning will be available anytime, and that is the reason. So now you see this WebEx, this web-based learning had come up, MOOC had come up, and other approaches are coming up. Anyway, I think I have talked a lot about all those approaches, and anyone have any query, then we can work it out. Otherwise, I think I have talked a lot. So, uh, uh, Gupta sir, are you available? Hello. Then I think we have some good questions. So definitely this can work. Yeah. Gupta sir, are you online? हाँ, yes, Nitish ji, आप हैं sir, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I request all the participants
Thank you.
to.
I thought sir, since I was talking too much, so मुझे ऐसा लगा कि कहीं बीच में interrupt तो नहीं हो गया है. So that was the reason, the thing was there.
I request all the participants to kindly ask their questions from sir using their chat option.
Yeah. Because this is something which is need of hour, and the way technology is changing,
Yes, sir.
and you will find out this whole education system is going to be changed. So
Participants,
any observation from the audience? If they have put any question on the chat box, we can go through that.
no, sir, not yet.
Okay. So anyone is there who want to ask something?
Sir, there is a question from Miss Sonakshi Jaiswal.
Yes,
She's
please.
asking, do you think with the technological advancement and robotics taking over the teacher jobs are at stake? She's
Look,
trying to in simple terms.
that is very, and look, the challenge is there. Let's take example of banking industry. When there was a time when a lot of manpower were there in the banks, and what had happened after certain time, what we observed that this technology was introduced in the banks, and after certain time, what happened? This bank had uh, uh, come up with the contemporary model, like internet banking is there. Then right now you see, if you see the private banks, and there are some branch which are virtual in nature. So, and it's purely technological enabled. It's not like that, the technology will come up and the manpower will go. So but the challenge is there. We have to update ourselves because you see now, the as far as the learners are concerned, they always see the shelf life, like, and there is a shelf life of anything. Like if they have learned something, they can uh, they can take the weightage of that for 5 years, 10 years. If they are not going to update themselves, after certain time, what will happen? They become redundant. So it's not, confined to the student, but to the teachers too. That's why, the training part, the grooming part is going on, and workshops are conducted in the institutions. So, and frequently in a frequent mode, so that learning can go on. As far as this robotics and big data analytics are concerned, what we observe that that this is something which had uh, which is the need of the hour. The way things are changing. If you're not going to change, ultimately what will happen? uh, if we develop a good content, it's not like that there are some flagship institutes, and it's their cup of tea to do that. Even the institution, the Delhi University is pioneer as far as the undergraduate education is concerned, and the way students are enrolling over here, more majority of them are 90 plus, so the student bank is quite good. So, and as far as the SWAYAM platform is concerned, which was created by MHRD, we have seen that good footfall is there from the learners and from the instructors end. So, but again, as far as the contents are concerned, contents are quite good, and we have to see, like, the content need to be developed uh, for for the different segment. Like, there are some segments who are deprived, who are under marginalized, who are in remote areas. So it's not like that you can develop a content only for only for people of a different mindset. We have to see things in a holistic manner, and things are changing. Like, the mobile learning is going on, app based learning is going on. So this kind of model had come up. I think uh, uh, this contemporary, if you talk about the artificial intelligence, the robotics, no doubt the job is going to be reduced, but it's not like that it can be eradicated, because the different kind of manpower is going to be come up in a coming years, which can, when the robots are going to be worked, there are different kind of manpower which are there, which can work, which can regularize the robots. So how we are going to do that, that matters.
Thank you, sir, for answering this question. Coming towards the next question, Miss Kesan, she has raised a question and she has asked, sir, do you think digital education in India is going to increase the disparity between the rich and the poor? For many, digital education, it is still not available. Right to education, where is it going to stand?
It's a very good question. It's a very good question. The reason being, because there was a time when technology was introduced. Like, let's take an example of a gadget. If Apple make a phone, it's very clear it had got a different segment. And when any indigenous company develop a phone, it can, like the Nokia develop a phone, it create a phone for the masses. So it's a flamboyant, rather we can say, and keeping in mind this government of India is working in that direction, that they are going to develop a course, they are going to develop a program which can reach to the unreached. As far as IGNU is concerned, IGNU have also started, working in this direction, and through SWAYAM and other platforms, we are making a courses, a program uh, which could be almost free, which could be almost at a throwaway price. So, it's not like that that this technology enabled learning is designed or framed for the different segment. It is for the under marginalized, it is for the underprivileged, it is for the reaching to the unreached. But on the other hand, there are certain programs which need to be developed for the particular segment. Like, if you talk about the ITIs, if you talk about uh, industrial training institutes, they develop certain programs in a virtual mode, then there are certain costs which need to be occurred into it. So, no doubt they are not going to, if they are not getting any grants or something, ultimately they are not going to offer that. So this need to be taken care. So if they develop the program in such a manner that it is going to solve the purpose, then things need to be done. And what I have observed, that government is thinking in this direction, because they know the gap is there. And right now the more emphasis is on employment, more emphasis is on skilling. So keeping in mind, they are going to develop program which can be, floated through technology, so that learner don't have to devote certain time to get the learning. They can do it by earning and by learning. So uh, this could be one of the way by which the things are going to be done. But on the other hand, we have to have a blended approach in our hand. We have developed a program which could be contemporary in nature. We have to develop program for the particular class and creed, and we have to, on the other hand, we have developed program, because when you are more talking about technology, as I have told you, if you are going to introduce the robotics, if you are going to use the big data analytics, or the real time approaches, or the a content which had taken a lot of efforts, like to develop, like the video lectures required a lot of efforts. Sometimes it takes a lot of time as well as effort. So no doubt in that case it could be quite expensive. So when you are going to put some cost, ultimately what happened that maybe some less enrollment could be there. But for that, that program would be for the certain segment. On the other hand, the private universities are, I hope, bridging the gap. They are going to develop certain programs which are going to cater the particular class and creed, like for engineering student or something, for skill based, or the crash courses, or 3 month or 4 month certificate program, anything which can directly link with the employment. That kind of model is going on.
Thank you, sir. Sir, Miss Kesang has raised another question. She says, still internet availability in many places are not developed. Will we initiate digital education in such situation?
Yeah, that is the biggest challenge. I am I agreed with the ma'am that that this kind of the model is there, but it's not like that. We are creating, and gradually you will find out the government is working in that direction. And as far as the internet is concerned, more or less, if you find out, no doubt there is a maybe disconnection in the bandwidth and other things, but more or less every state, every city, or every place is going to be interconnected in a is going to be, is almost interconnected, or maybe equipped with the internet. So wherever the internet is not there, there is the biggest challenge. So that is the reason which I was talking about in the very beginning stage, that you can't eradicate the existing brick and mortar approach. Like as far as India is concerned, which have got a versatile approach, so it's not like that you can shut down the conventional book philosophy or the conventional printing and run the program on an electronic mode. We have to have both the models. Let the model choose by the learners. If the learners are comfortable uh, with the brick and mortar approach, they can. If they are good with the technological approach, it's fine. If they are comfortable with the blended approach, it's again good. So keeping in mind, the university or the institution or the delivery organization, like the senders, like the institutions, have to keep in mind all those approaches, because if we take into consideration these kind of model, ultimately what will happen, that we understand, because end of the day, we have to believe in integrity, like the integration, that rather than and when the integration talks about that, you have to take into consideration all the people who are in the fray. So it's not like that you can develop a thing which can be customized or confined to the particular uh, uh, jurisdictions, and you can eliminate other jurisdictions. So definitely for other jurisdictions we have to create some model.
Thank you, sir. Miss Sonal Gupta has asked two questions simultaneously. So, sir, I am going to pick both the questions one by one, starting from
You,
question one.
you can have one
How
question.
can how we can visualize impact of technology on work-life balance in academia?
How we can.
Visualize impact of technology on work-life balance in academia.
Okay. Look, now the biggest challenge is that I think as far as our institution are concerned, as far as Delhi University is concerned, everywhere this weekly report model is there, and what we observe, that we are busy with just doing the window dressing rather than doing other things. So this need to be taken care, because it's true that this online effort is a very tedious job. It's a quite rigorous process. It's not like that that we are stick to the 9 to 5, and here the model is quite 24/7 mode, where you are developing a content, you are putting it on a web, understanding about a technology, somewhere you are learning a technology, then finally what happened, you are delivering, you are disseminating. So it's a big challenge. And what happened in this, that this work life and the family life is going to be overlapped, and ultimately what had happened, that the individual is in big trouble. So this is the biggest challenge, that is very true. And I think there must be something need to be formulated from the authority, from the government, from the ministry, that how you're going to quantify that, because people are working, because here the issue is different. Here the issue is that they are first learning, and then they are disseminating. So effort is going on in a different manner. At the one stage you are learning, you are learning about technology, how you are going to equip yourself with the technology, and in the second stage you are now disseminating. So it's quite rigorous, that is very true, and this is a big challenge. And there are certain those who are and those who are in the permanent structure, for them it's fine. Those who are in the what we can say in a guest faculty mode or in a ad hoc mode, for them there's a challenge, because the honorarium is also, or the salary structure is also been reduced to 50%, or somewhere the other model is there. So this is the challenge, because the effort is going on and on, the work which you are devoting is going on, and whereas the honorarium which you are getting, or remuneration you are getting, is somewhat less than 50% of your effort. So it's a big challenge. In somewhere this had created a very havoc stage. So uh, I think this need to be there must be a brainstorming which need to be done, so that this kind of model uh, can acceptable to all. What is the second question?
So further, she asked, do you think it requires to revisit the topic of work-life balance in the light of increased use of technology in education?
Sorry, could you repeat it?
So further, she asked, do you think it requires to revisit the topic of work-life balance in the light of increased use of technology in education?
Uh, if you talk in Indian perspective, I think what I'm thinking, as far as India is concerned, I think we have to. There's a time now that we have to change ourselves, and people are changing. It's not like that you can change every day in one day. Like the example which I was quoting, that Rome was not built in a day. If you want to change everything in a day, ultimately what will happen? There will be a big trouble, and your legacy system, your manual system is going to be uh, affected by that. So what I am thinking, that technology is no doubt is going to come up. If you are not going to do, ultimately what will happen? There will be a private organization, there will be private players who are rigorously working, and changes are coming up. So more contemporary thought is coming up. Only thing is that the resource and other approaches need to be done. There are certain, the mentoring, there are certain brainstorming, there are certain, the training sessions, or how we are going to know about the current thoughts, the contemporary thoughts. If this kind of training or other approaches will go on, definitely things are going to be changed.
Thank you, sir. There is a question from Dr. Ruchira Pathak, ma'am. She is asking, how can we leverage the concept of flipped classrooms in this digital world?
How can we introduce?
How can we leverage the concept of flipped classrooms in this digital world?
Look, what I'm thinking, things are going to be changed. The classroom teaching is the face to face teaching, and other approach of teaching is going to be changed with the change of time, and a lot of other the other approaches are going to become. When you talk about the digital learning, I think in the pandemic, when the pandemic had come up, uh, we were in the lockdown started. We were so much we were not acquainted with the scenario, but we have changed ourselves. And if you talk about the school going teachers, school going kids, or you talk about the school teachers, or you talk about the university teachers, everybody had changed themselves. So this digital learning is going to be, changed with the change of time, and in the coming years you will find out this digital learning is quite different what we have visualized, what we observe in the present scenario. If you talk about 5 years, 10 years back, the learning was different. The anything uh, which we put online is considered to be electronic learning. Then the digital learning comes into picture. But right now what happened, this hybrid learning model had come up. So when you talk about the hybrid learning, you talk about that how the curriculum is going to be framed. This is quite important, and real time learning comes into picture, where you will find out that who are the real learners and who are the real instructors. So it's not like that anybody can become a real instructor or real learners. Their reviews, their footfalls, their citations, their way of writing, their subject expertise, all are on the web, and rather than they speak, their work speaks. So what I mean to say, this kind of model is going to come. And when you talk about the hybrid learning always believes that you can't restrict yourself to, or uh, confined to the electronic learning. You have a the historical model with you, you have a conventional approach, and you can intermingle with that. But on the other hand, it's provide a roof to the teachers, to the learners, that they can choose. Even in the instructor can choose their learners, and the learners can choose the instructors. As well as the curriculum is going to be designed. So if the curriculum, if the learners want the curriculum in a different manner, they can do that. Right now, if you talk about the new education policy, a person from who had done his 10 plus 2 from arts, they can switch over into science. I think this kind of model is going to come up. I don't know how much successful it could be, but if you are providing roof, if you are providing flexibility, because end of the day, flexibility matters a lot. If you are providing flexibility, ultimately you get more penetration, more footfalls. And if you're getting more footfalls, ultimately what will happen, that uh, that the interest comes into picture. And on the other hand, the as far as learning is concerned, as far as education is concerned, it's not to just getting the degrees. It's to how you are going to implement it. Because if you're what you have learned, you have devoted 3 years, learners have devoted 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and but they are not able to disseminate. Ultimately what will happen, it's from where they have started their journey, they stand there only. So this is the model which need to be taken care, and this is where the hybrid learning kind of pedagogy is going to come.
Thank you, sir. Dolly Limbu, Miss Dolly Limbu has raised a question. She is
Yeah.
asked, how can digital mode be implemented in place which doesn't have access to proper power supply?
uh, Sir, could you repeat it again, sir?
Sure, sir.
Hmm.
Definitely. Miss Dolly Limbu, she is asking, how can digital mode be implemented in place which doesn't have access to proper power supply?
ये तो चैलेंज है। ये बात तो मैंने आपको पहले ही एक सवाल पहले भी आया था जिसमें ये बात हो रही थी। देखिए, जो सब्स्टिट्यूट लर्निंग होती है वो बेसिकली यही होती है कि आप देखिए, गौर करिए कि देयर वाज अ टाइम व्हेन लर्निंग वाज कन्फाइंड टू 4 वॉल्स ओनली, फेस टू फेस थी। फिर उसके बाद टेक्नोलॉजी, फिर करस्पॉन्डेंस लर्निंग शुरू हुई, डिस्टेंस लर्निंग शुरू हुई, ओपन एंड डिस्टेंस लर्निंग शुरू हुई, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक लर्निंग शुरू हुई। देखिए, ये बात सही है कि एंड दैट इज द रीजन व्हाट आई बिलीव दैट यू कांट मेक मैंडेटरी द कंटेम्प्रेरी लर्निंग. If you're going to make a mandatory technology enabled learning, uh, ultimately it's a choice for the individual that they can go for it. That is very true. Where the power is not there, you can't run the internet, and if there is no internet, there is no electronic learning. That is very true. So ऐसा ये चीज तो इंस्टीट्यूशंस को भी ध्यान देना है कि कहाँ पे क्या चीज दी जाए. There are some places where you can have a blended model. There are some places where you can have a contemporary approach. There are some places where you have a stereotype approach or the conventional approach which you were doing in the past. तो जहाँ पावर नहीं है वहाँ पे तो एजुकेशन कुछ और मॉडल तो देखना पड़ेगा ना. अब आप वो वेस्टर्न वर्ल्ड की बात करिए, अमेरिका की बात करिए. अगर मैं उसके इलेक्शन सिस्टम की बात करूं तो वहां पे अभी भी elections are governed in a different manner. Somewhere it is blended in nature, somewhere it is stereotype way, somewhere it is technological enabled, somewhere one can done with the help of internet only. So this kind of model is there. और India is a vast populated country. यहाँ पे बहुत बड़ा challenge है. ये challenge तो देखिए रहेगा. ये चीज तो है, power का issue है. और that is the reason you have to first uh, streamline the system. Then you can talk about the technological enabled learning where the issue is there, where there is no power, there is no internet.
Thank you, sir, for answering all the questions so brilliantly. Is there any further question anyone would like to ask? Now is the time. The questions are over, no further questions.
Okay.
I would like to congratulate you for such a wonderful session. And thank you once again for enlightening us on such a relevant and sustainable topic. We wish
Thank
to
you,
hear
sir.
more from you in coming future, sir. Thank you very much once
Thank
again.
you very much. Thank you, Nitish ji. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure, sir.
1 second, sir. हेलो
हाँ बोलिए.
जी सर नमस्कार. सर ये सभी से मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा एक बार अपना कैमरा ऑन कर लेंगे एक स्माइली मूवमेंट के लिए.
मेरा कैमरा.
सर सभी का सारे पार्टिसिपेंट्स. सो वी वांट टू कैप्चर दिस मोमेंट.
ओके.
प्लीज कीप स्माइलिंग. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you Subodh sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Rakesh ji?
So we can wind up the session then?
Yes, yes. Okay, I have to say a few lines, then I'm going to wind up the session.
Yeah, please.
Before concluding today's 6th day of the FDP, I would like to thank the mind behind this wonderful FDP, the one and only, the phenomenal and the most dynamic principal I have ever seen, principal of our PGDV Evening College, Dr. Ravindra Kumar Gupta ji. Sir, you are really a role model and an inspiration for all of us. Convener IQAC cell, Dr. Sanjay Kumar. Sir, thank you very much for your intellectual guidance throughout this FDP. Research and Consultancy Cell Convener Dr. Ruchira Pathak. Ma'am, you are a true example of a dynamic and democratic style of leadership. You are having all the qualities of a democratic leader. And I want to personally thank you for all the sheer efforts which you have devoted for making this FDP a successful one till day 6. Further, it will be definitely successful. Co-convener, Research and Consultancy Cell, Dr. Harish Arora sir, he is a one-man army and we thank him for his unconditional support throughout this FDP. And last but not the least, the FDP organizing team. FDP organizing team displayed a great sense of coordination and cooperation, which symbolizes the good old saying that strength lies in unity. And I would like to congratulate all the participants for attending the session in such a wise manner. Stay safe, stay healthy, but keep the research spirit always high. Thank you very much for joining us today.
1 second नितेश जी, 1 second. Participants, हमारा जो सेशन है वो कल नहीं है, अब डे आफ्टर टुमारो 12th को है. तो हमने शेड्यूल में दिया हुआ था ऑलरेडी. तो कुछ पार्टिसिपेंट्स की क्वेरी थी कि सेशन कल है या परसों. सो इट इज डे आफ्टर टुमारो, दैट इज ऑन 12th August. Then now we can leave. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone.